boat is here.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, September 19th, 2019. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination, episode 1174.
This is No Agenda.
Being scrubbed slowly and broadcasting live from Opportunity Zone 33 in the frontier of Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star State. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, I see a yellow truck. I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
Okay, is it a big yellow truck?
I just thought that'd be a nice contrast to your spiel.
Is it a dump truck?
It was a small pickup truck, as a matter of fact. And now that I think about it, as I look out and I can look out and see the freeway.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see anything but gray and black and the occasional red, white.
What, car
There's
colors?
blue. I saw one blue. There's gray, black, gray, black, white. I mean, it's dull out there.
John,
and so this yellow truck stands out like a sore thumb.
Did men in white coats get out of that truck in front of your house? 'Cause you may.
It's just so boring to see these. I mean, what can't they? Back when I was a kid in the 50s, they used to have 3-tone cars.
Woo! Oh, yeah. Yeah. Tan roof. Well, I'm sad to report, and I'm pretty sure now, and I wouldn't call it shadow banning, but the new Twitter algorithms are definitely screwing with me, and I attribute that to the fact that I have no blue check mark. And I can see it. I post something, normally within 5 minutes, there might be 10, 20 retweets or likes. Now 2, 3, maybe. I retweet myself, maybe 1 or 2 pick up. All kinds of reports of people, even entering at Adam Curry in the search box doesn't autocomplete. So I think and by the way, I'm not seeing a lot of people either. I never see Scott Adams anymore. Not that, it's that much of none of this is really a problem for me. But when it comes to the show, like announcing the show and, just announcements, it's not working for us anymore. Here, let me see what I got now on the bat signal. Let's see. So we have, how many people we have we've got 763 trolls and looks like 4 retweets. Come on. So call it, I don't call it shadow banning. I don't think that's what it is. This is just the algorithm. It's like, this guy.
Yeah, let me help you out with that.
Okay.
I can't do it now because it's real complicated, but I will walk you through a process to make this less of an issue.
There's a process?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. It doesn't. Well, then just tell me simply, what is the process? I don't believe it. I think this is just how their algos are working. You have to go into the
settings, and you got to take and look at what Twitter has determined that are your interests.
Oh no, I understand. I can change.
And you got to uncheck a million boxes. Have you done that? Have you unchecked any boxes?
Well, then what happens? I see more of who I want to see. I want people to see me.
No, it changes. It's like the boxes that are checked, are represent a milieu.
Oh, I'm in the wrong milieu. I see. Well, maybe you've got a solution now, but this is not a.
I'm not saying this is a good thing. I mean, even the solution is like sketchy,
right? But
does help a little bit.
Well, this is why I'm going to suggest 2 things. First of all, after today's show, I will post in the show notes an invitation link to noagendasocial.com. I mean, this is clearly we need to have some mechanism. So, you can get all kinds of apps and they can give you alerts when I'm posting. And there's all kinds of stuff we can do because Twitter is over for us. And so maybe now I can change my perceived milieu. I don't know what I have to check or uncheck. Yeah. But that's no future for us. It's just going to get worse. And I think it's time to reinstate No Agenda Hams.
What?
Don't you remember we had a repeater, we had reflectors, we had echo link channels, we had all kinds of cool stuff going on?
Yeah? No.
It was, to be fair, 7 or 8 years ago. But it was
What?
It was not long after we started with after you got me into the hobby. Now, let's.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're all jacked up. There goes the Zephyr.
Oh, thank goodness.
You're all jacked up about it.
Yeah, well, I am. I'm rejacked, and I think with good reason. And I've set up my my HT, my handy, set that up again, and I'm monitoring on D-Star, Reflector 33 Charlie right now. In fact, if anyone can,
I saw.
Yeah,
I'm just as I think about this, I saw those tweets.
Yeah.
That's when the algorithm went into full force and shadow banned you. Oh my God! One of these guys, get off.
But I think
they see ham radio as a competitor.
It is, and I think that we have enough people now to start up the No Agenda Nation repeater network, which could be two. It should actually be a repeater to repeater network. We may have people in close enough proximity to get a lot of that. Not rely on the internet back end. But I'm going to be on D-Star on Reflector 33 Charlie, and I'm going to be monitoring and the conversation I'm interested in having, because this was the problem. We had nothing to talk about when we had the No Agenda hands. Be like, hey, yeah, your rig sounds great. Yep, it's coming through fine. Yeah, that's good. So now at least we'll have something to talk about, which is
all the conversations.
Pretty much. But now we can talk about building our repeater network, which will be handy for something. You can do it digital, and we can do a lot. In fact, you know what? We need our own CubeSat. That's what we need.
There's an idea. If this continues, we could be the ones who save the world when all hell breaks loose.
Right. But I think a CubeSat could really do it. You can leave messages on those too for them to be rebroadcast.
Now here we have ham radio, guys. Ham radio is the public service network of last resort. When the apocalypse comes, we're the guys who are going to save the world, right?
Right. But I'm serious. I want to build this. I want to build a repeater network.
I'm in.
I want people to set up. We can do echo link reflectors. We need to do cross linking between reflectors. We need analog repeater to repeater. And I'll meet you on D-Star. And of course, people are like, I don't have D-Star. So someone needs to set up a reflector again, and then we can do it on echo link. And if you don't know what this is, you're missing out on a fabulous hobby known as amateur radio, and you too can become a ham today.
Anybody who listens to this show can pass the tech test, probably just right now,
without even studying. Yeah, I mean, and
study a couple minutes, and you could definitely pass.
Well, the beauty of it is that the questions for each test for each year are released publicly with the answers. You get the test, it's the same answers, just in a different order. If you can't, and by the way, that's the same for the general. Well, it's not all of them, sure. It's just a selection of them. Anybody can do this, and you can get a ham radio that would work on this network for $25 now.
Yeah,
the Bayo thing,
made in China.
Yeah, well,
which is the irony.
Yeah. It is trying to go OTG and using Chinese crap to do it with. It's great.
Yeah. Well, that's the cheapest stuff. That's for sure.
Yeah. So, and our No Agenda hams are so alert. Not a single one has called me on the channel. I'm like, oh, watch! I'm going to mention it on the show, and they're going to fire up their machines and start talking to me. Nope.
Well,
so I have a way to go with the evangelizing of the project. Clearly,
well, that's the way it always is.
Yeah. Yes. Wow, a lot going on.
There was actually a lot going on. It's all subtle.
Yeah.
I mean, the Brexit thing was going on. Did you, by the way, just to start with, if you want to start with Brexit.
Sure.
This guy, Guy van der Hoven-Bloven.
Yeah, the Belgian guy, the
Belgian guy who you sound exactly like when you do that voice.
Yes, Sean, I am Guy Verhofstadt. I am very, very nice to be here in the show.
Well, I got 2 clips from him. There's actually shows 3, but one of them is just a long clip that we don't want to play. But he went to London and he was at the meetup or convention of the Liberal Democrats, who are all wearing Stop Brexit, and the Liberal Democrats are really New World Order globalists. They don't like England any more than half the people at England.
Right.
In England.
Well, yes, that's the
don't
point.
like the country.
Yeah.
And so this guy is going to go. He gives one of the keynotes and gets a big round of applause. But he had 2 moments in the keynotes that I thought were worthwhile. Besides him trying to be funny, which he apparently does constantly.
Yeah.
And this is one that I just heard offhandedly, and I felt it needed to be rethought. And this is Guy on Brexit. Interpret this.
I have one conviction, that Brexit happens is also a sign that this European Union needs to be modernized, needs to be more effective. We cannot continue. We cannot continue, dear friends, with a Europe that is always acting too little and too late.
Yes. We cannot go on like this, as I said to my wife this morning. That's him.
Yeah, it's pretty hard not to laugh at this guy because of
his accent. Yes.
Well, this particular commentary, which was short, it was what was it? The length 21 seconds.
Yeah, 20 seconds.
What he's saying there was he started by saying the Brexit was I'm going to deconstruct it completely and tell you what he actually said was that Brexit should have never have happened because it only happened because the EU is too weak to put the kibosh on the whole thing to begin with. They're not strong. And underneath that thinking is that we need a European army, and we need to, we shouldn't let these countries do stuff like this Brexit. Mm-hmm. And that's what he said. He literally said,
we should stop them.
If we had our act together, Brexit would have never have happened because we wouldn't have allowed it.
Let's listen one more time. It's only 20 seconds.
I have one conviction, that Brexit happens is also a sign that this European Union needs to be modernized, needs to be more effective. We cannot continue. We cannot continue, dear friends, with a Europe that is always acting too little and too late.
And friends, we will be acting on behalf of the European Union. We will give them shit if they try to leave. It's not going to happen on my watch. Yep. Yeah, but this guy is a total douche. He is the New World Order guy.
Democrats love him over there.
He's the guy. Hold on, I have the. He's the guy that said you have to hand over all your sovereignty.
Yeah,
hold on,
he's the guy. You're right.
Let me see.
And he has such a jocular style of delivery that you don't take it as seriously as you should. This guy is threatening you.
Yeah. I can't find it that easily. But anyway. Oh, yes, here we go. Here it is. It's 20 seconds as well. The guy speaks in 20-second sound bites. How about that?
And that is the real problem, colleagues. Why there is such a problem in this crisis? Because member states are reluctant to transfer new sovereignty and powers to the European Union. And we all know that the only way out of this crisis is a new transfer of powers to the European Union and to the European institutions.
And make it snel.
Yes, snel.
Yeah, it's not a one-off. This guy is very consistent.
Yeah, and they're loving it over there at the Lib Dems. Anyway, so he did the thing. One of our producers sent me this clip, and I pulled that other part. But the emphasis everybody's making is on this clip, which is, I don't know, I don't think it's as onerous as the other one. It's longer, but it does tell you a little bit about some of the kinds of screwball thinking that goes on. And this is, Guy, on the new world order of tomorrow.
In the world order of tomorrow, the world order of tomorrow is not a world order based on nation states or countries. It's a world order that is based on empires. China is not a nation. It's a civilization, Han. India, you know it better than I do, is not a nation. There are 2,000 nations in India.
2,000.
There are 20 different languages that are used there. There are 4 big religions at the same time. It is the biggest democracy worldwide. The US is also an empire, more than a nation. Maybe tomorrow they will speak there more Spanish than English. I don't know what will happen. And then finally the Russian Federation. The world of tomorrow is a world...
I gotta stop. Do you hear what this dick just did, actually?
Yeah.
He's like, well, you're being overrun by immigrants. You're going to be speaking Spanish tomorrow. This is exactly what's happening in his backyard in Europe. People are coming in who do not learn the native languages of the member states. And people are laughing.
Yeah, but if you dig deeper into what he's saying, and again, nobody takes him seriously because of the way he talks, but he's saying that, look at India. There's 20, or I guess he said 20 languages that they're all speaking, but yet it's this big democracy that seems to work as
it is a shithole.
Wait a minute, I'm sorry, I could barely get that out, but it somehow works according to him.
India they're moving to Europe because they got no water. It's a shithole.
It's a total shithole. And
shithole, I tell you. Let's finish the clip. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I was like, come on.
At the same time, it is the biggest democracy worldwide. The US is also an empire, more than a nation. Maybe tomorrow they will speak there more Spanish than English. I don't know what will happen.
And they laugh.
And then finally the Russian Federation. The world of tomorrow is a world of empires in which we European and you British can only defend your interest, your way of life, by doing it together in a European framework and in the European Union. And those, dear friends, those who want to defend our standards of living, our social standards, our ecological standards, our labor standards, can only do that. They know it only in the framework of Europe, and inside Europe, in the center, a Britain that takes its responsibilities and not is going out of this great project.
Fear is freedom. Subjugation is liberation. Contradiction is truth. Those are the facts of this world. And you will all surrender to them. You pigs in human clothing.
Mach schnell! Yeah.
To me, it's unbelievable, and they cheer him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah!
Yeah, right. I don't want to make an analogy that stretches it too far, but this is as if Hitler gave a speech in England, say in the late 30s, or let's say mid 30s, before any of the frictions began, and said, why don't you just surrender to Germany? That way you don't have to worry about having this big war is going to kill a bunch of people, and we'll all be happy. And we'll get this done together, because you guys can't keep care of yourselves. You're incompetent. You need us.
I could just go on and on and on and on.
Well, we got the clips, yes. Play clips. But so I just found this guy.
But the thing is,
insulting.
John, they are applauding this. I mean, this to me, and we're seeing some of this happening in our country. There's stuff that's like, I mean, we'll be talking, I'm sure, about the school strike tomorrow. And these are all really old policies from socialist country, communist China. I mean, this is crazy what's happening. And this in the EU, he's just saying, we should go back to how it was in the 40s, the good old days.
I don't know. I just find it distressing, and they're going to have another election. I'm sure of it. Brexit's not going to happen. I mean, the Brits are so screwed at their core, but they've already, they got too many of these liberal Democrats that sort of thinking that says, yeah, let's just give our country away and just throw our sovereignty and give it to the EU. Just let them have it, because we can't manage ourselves. We're boneheads. That's what the guy said. That's what Guy says. You can't do this. We need labor laws that we tell you what to do.
Yeah, you guys have. Okay, it's almost like you had your shot. Now you got to listen to us. I'm sure that's what he'd like to say.
That's what he wants to say. There's just what he wants to say, I'm sure, is much even better than this.
I do have one Brexit clip. Now, this was very odd to me, as the prorogation is now in front of the UK Supreme Court, and to see if this is legal. And there's all kinds of issues going on. And as I predicted, I don't think Boris was ever going to make it happen. And now, I didn't even know the UK had a Supreme Court. They don't have a written constitution. It's kind of there's bits from here and there, and we got some precedents and some jurisprudence. And the Supreme Court is a dude at a low desk, as in a small room, like he's a university professor. I think he even had a blackboard behind him. He's got like binders, and it's not he's not wearing robes or anything. He doesn't even look like this is one guy. Is he the court? I don't know how it works. And then some other guy is pleading his case, and this is, and they don't know. It's like, well, who determines what's right? Who is the ultimate authority in the land?
Would you accept that the exercise of the power to prorogue Parliament has the potential to affect or undermine Parliament's ability to carry out its constitutional function of holding the executive to account?
My lord, by definition, I'm not sure I'd accept it in exactly those terms, because I'd be accused of accepting a contentious proposition. But by definition, prorogation, and it's a point that I will come back to, has the effects that it has. So the bills that were previously before Parliament fall, they can be reintroduced, and so that parliamentary questions cannot be asked, so that the parliamentary committees do not sit. So, of course, to that extent, it has the effects that it has. But my submission will be that despite those features, this is a well-established constitutional function, exercisable and to be exercised by the executive. And the question remains whether there are, to go back to the rationale identified in Shergill, whether there are judicial or manageable standards against which the sort of political judgments that are inevitably interwoven into decisions to prorogate, whether there are such standards, I'm going to come to analyse that, and also whether it is, as a matter of constitutional propriety, appropriate for those controls to be exercised by the courts, as opposed ultimately to the body to which the executive is ultimately accountable.
Yeah, this is how it goes. Shut up, slaves. Your representatives don't mean crap. They want the court to make a decision on this.
Well, we'll see.
And he says constitution. Like, what constitution?
I don't get it.
Now, I'm sure there are lots of Brits who will help us out.
That can explain this to us. I would hope one of them does.
Of course, we'll have plenty helping us out. I spoke to Pachenik yesterday.
Ah, good. What did you find out?
Well, I asked him specifically about the drones and the Saudi Arabian refinery.
Good.
Because I'm like, what is this? Is it from Iran? Did Iranians shoot it off in Iraq? Was it a cruise missile? Was it some kind of sophisticated drone? How did it get through the defenses? Look at, by now I think everyone's seen the holes. I mean, these are maybe 20 yards apart, perfect holes in these domes. And that's some pretty badass cruise missile strike and just a hole.
Well, there's been a couple. I don't know if I have a lead-in clip, but there's been a couple of different reports. At first, I heard there were two there's a bunch of these. I don't know what the point of the drones were, but there were at least two cruise missiles, and then it was NBC. I think they said there were 9. Let's play this a lead-in clip. This is David Martin, and David Martin is probably one of their best foreign correspondents, old-timer. He's pretty straight. in terms of his reporting. He doesn't like lean into the Trump hate thing, and he could be CIA. But he gives you a really good report. So this is David Martin on the drone strike from CBS.
Well, we're going to begin tonight with David Martin at the Pentagon, who has more on the growing case the U.S. is building against Iran.
U.S. officials say experts have examined pieces of the wreckage on the ground in Saudi Arabia, identified the specific type of cruise missiles and drones fired, and determined they were made in Iran. Other analysts have traced their tracks back to points in southwestern Iran. One official called it a complex and coordinated attack involving 24 drones and 9 cruise missiles. Although Vice President Pence stopped short of saying flatly it was Iran.
Yesterday, it's certainly looking like Iran was behind these attacks. Our intelligence community at this very hour is working diligently to review the evidence.
Iran appears to have found...
By the way, that's a great little thing he threw in there. The intelligence community at this very hour. That's war talk. That's great. You know, it's like, at this hour, we are bombing Baghdad. At this hour, troops are landing on the beaches of Normandy. At this hour, there's another tent going up in downtown Austin.
These attacks. Our intelligence community at this very hour.
Did he say my intelligence community? Fantastic, Pensy.
No, he said the. He said the.
Our intelligence community.
I think he's saying R. Yeah.
Community at this very hour.
Now I missed the best part. Okay.
Our intelligence community at this very hour is working diligently to review the evidence.
Iran appears to have found a gaping hole.
That's in the clip?
Yeah. I know.
It's beautiful.
Wow, that's great.
You know, another thing before you restart it, it's interesting that Pence, you know, I mean, there's this issue we've talked about on the show before about the pronunciation of Iran.
Mm-hmm.
And the insiders at some level, on some side of the fence pronounce it Iran, which is what David Martin says. If you listen to him, he says Iran. And then, of course, the other side of the pronunciation fence is Iran.
Yeah, that's wrong. That's just wrong.
It's wrong.
It's wrong.
And that is Rick Pence pronounces it.
So once in a while, I just got to throw some sound effects in there. It seems to work really well at this hour.
Every hour is working diligently to review the evidence.
Iran appears to have found a gaping hole in Saudi air defenses around their most valuable asset, oil. Saudi Arabia relies on U.S.-made Patriot air defense batteries, but they were all pointed south toward Yemen, where past missile attacks have come from. The missiles and drones that hit the oil facilities this weekend came in from the north. The U.S. has Patriots of its own at an air base in the middle of the country, but they were too far away. Having been unable to prevent the attack, the U.S. warned it might retaliate.
We're locked and loaded.
Locked and loaded.
And we're ready to defend our interests and our allies in the region. Make no mistake about it.
The U.S. has been locked and loaded since last spring when it's...
Dude, that is my sound effect they just used there. Listen to it. You're going to hear theirs, and then I'll play mine. Okay? Get ready.
And we're ready to defend our interests and our allies in the region. Make no mistake about it.
U.S.
That's theirs? It's my effect.
No, yours is more elaborate.
Mine's better, for sure.
The region. Make no mistake about it.
U.S. has been locked and loaded since last spring when it sent an aircraft carrier and B-52 bombers to the Persian Gulf. But Joint Chiefs Chairman General Joseph Dunford told reporters the president has not yet asked for any military options. For now, the most concrete consequence of what Secretary of State Pompeo called an unprecedented attack on the world's energy supply is that President Trump said he'd prefer not to meet with Iranian President Rouhani next week when world leaders gather at the UN.
All right. Now, before I get to Pachenik, that is a good lead-in. Thank you for that. Shep Smith brought Shep Smith, Fox News. He brought up, which I never watched, but I did find this clip. Someone sent it to me. He brought up the obvious, which we said always has to be part of one of these deals.
Expecting the president shortly. We'll play that for you as we get it. Michael, the bigger picture, there was a time when world oil prices factored in risks to oil facilities, and there's a name for that. It's sort of been on the side for a while, but with this new drone technology and instability in the region, I wonder, bigger picture, how concerned you are that this sort of thing could happen again.
I do worry because what we really need to stop this kind of thing is directed energy defense, laser beams, essentially, that can shoot down an indefinite number of small threats. If you have to use a missile to take out each drone, the economics are against you, the geography is against you, and the laser technology is coming along, but it's not quite economic.
I'm surprised these guys, they don't do any effects. They should be doing talking about lasers and shit. Nothing.
Economical and effective enough yet that it could really protect all these Saudi or other oil facilities. So on balance, there is going to be some ongoing vulnerability here. My guess is we could probably do a little better with the point defense of these kinds of facilities. Maybe not each and every one, but the most valuable, the most fragile. So I think that's the next step, is to look into how much better defense you can do. There's going to be a certain amount of vulnerability, however, either way you look at it.
Our allies seem concerned
All right, so there's your military-industrial complex, thinking about ramping up some directed energy weapon technology so that we can take those drones down. So I spoke to Pieczenik, and I recorded our conversation. And I asked him a couple of things. Now, for those who don't know, Steve Pieczenik, go look him up on Wikipedia, Pieczenik. He has an unbelievable record and resume. A resume for sure, record I guess, and he certainly has his own take. And when I asked him about what kind of drone was this, who did this, he came out of such a no agenda angle. I'm angry I didn't figure it out myself.
One of the key factors that came out, but nobody really realized, was the fact that Aramco, or the Saudi Arabian oil, was to go public recently.
I thought that was off the table. It was still ready to go.
What happened? It was off the table because what we call the strike price, or the price of the stock at the initial offering, was not what Mohammed had wanted or the Saudis had wanted. Because in fact, without Saudi oil, we do very well. Thank you very much. The United States of America is a net exporter of oil, and we do not need Saudi oil. The reason we allow Saudi oil to go up there is to really allow them to be our subordinates or sycophants, so to say. But Mohammed bin Salman doesn't want to admit it. And honestly, if I were in his military, I would have an overthrow, because he's really a danger to Saudi Arabia and to the Middle East. The truth of the matter is, I don't think anything hit those oil tanks. I think they blew up on their own, because when you have an IPO, and this goes back to my days as a managing director of an investment banking firm, and you pull away from a strike price, that means you did not make the amount of money that you wanted. Now, Mohammed bin Salman's fantasy is that he will make $2 trillion based on the net asset value of oil in Saudi Arabia. There's no way you can say that that's worth $2 trillion. He spends about $100 billion a year just subsidizing the whole government and using his National Guard to terrorize people, and the war in Yemen, which he does not need. Millions of kids have died. It's a proxy war against Iran. And guess what? Iran will always win. They've been around a lot longer. So the bottom line is, I don't believe the story. It was a 5% deficit in oil. We made it up within minutes. And Trump correctly said, let me see. I don't think anything hit them, but it was Iranian operatives involved, or machinery. Baloney. This is a self-destructive element in order to get the oil price up, and it didn't work.
And I went and looked on Reuters and Market Watch, and it's true. They were planning on going public, and, well, we don't know. I like the theory of the strike price being off, i.e. the price of oil wasn't high enough. Let's see if we can jack it up. And now they're saying they want to take it public in November instead of next year. So, now there's all kinds of IPO news. They're really trying to do anything, maybe before oil goes down again even further.
Yeah, they planned to go out. When they planned to go out, the price of oil was too low, and so they weren't going to get all that money that they hoped for, and they had to change as I don't know why he says what we call a strike price. Who's we? Everybody calls it strike price. It's the price. It's what
but what he's talking about is the IPO. You have it's your pricing.
You have a price.
It's
You're
pricing.
selling your initial public offers. How is it different than price?
I don't know why you're focusing on that, but okay.
I don't know. It just seemed odd.
Okay. You think that's odd?
Or somewhat. It was actually wasn't that. It was like it was somewhat patronizing, I thought.
I think he means what he means. We, as in Adam and Steve, because we talk a lot about day trading, and he's a day trader.
Yeah.
So I think that's what he meant. I don't think he meant it patronizing. He did go on to say that the real problem in all of this is MBS. It's Mohammed bin Salman, who we don't talk about much, but you see his investments in Twitter, and he's trying to do anything he can, according to Pechenik, as you'll hear, to find additional value in anything he can get his hands on.
Now, remember this, Adam. Your audience has to understand this is not the first time that Saudi Arabia has wanted to go public,
right?
Because they have no indigenous businesses. In other words, Mohammed bin Salman in his fantasy world is going to my agent at William Morris in Beverly Hills. He has to reach out all the Jewish guys in order to bring up,
yeah, how does that work out?
Entertainment. That it shows you how hard up he is.
Yeah.
Entertainment and high-tech companies. But in fact, the reality is he tried 2017, they failed to go public. 2018, they failed to go public. A few days ago, wasn't an accident. When Bolton left, suddenly we had a missile strike, so to speak, in the Saudi gas tanks, when in fact there was no missile strike. There was a deficit of 5% of oil. When there is no deficit, we can make it up in a nanosecond, and we do with West Texas Permian oil. Thanks to you guys in Texas, we can make it up. We don't even need Brent oil, which is $10 more than what we do in West Permian. So basically, the Saudis are pretty much screwed. They know it, we know it, and their evaluation can never come to their own assessments. In other words, they have no assets that really are valuable.
Now, you know more about the oil market, so I'm just going to presume he knew what he was talking about.
Well, he can't say that they got nothing of value. So that giant pile of oil is worthless? Is that what he's trying to say there? It makes no sense.
I think what he's saying is that they're no longer the boss. They don't have guaranteed customers. We're no longer a guaranteed customer. We have other choices. I think that's the point.
That's not what he said. He said they have nothing of value.
Yeah,
I don't think the oil market is drying up so much that if you pulled the Saudi oil off the market completely, it would have an effect on the oil price.
Oh, no doubt. But this bombing didn't have the effect that was rumored. Remember,
Horowitz chatted about this. It was like the oil price had a short spike because and then everyone came to their senses, except apparently the TV networks. I don't have a clip, I don't think. Where they brought some doofus on, one of the congressmen, and said, "Well, we're so dependent on Saudi oil." I'm saying, when was this? Oh yeah, I was watching this on the regular news. We haven't been dependent on anybody's oil. We're self-sufficient. Hello.
Yeah.
So when you hear somebody say we're dependent on Saudi oil,
yeah, who's
it's bullcrap.
Where's he getting his check from? Is the first question.
So it spiked up, and then it ramped down as fast as it spiked up, pretty much, and it with a net result of nothing.
Exactly,
nothing burger, as you like to say.
No, I don't say that. I've never. Screw you, Dvorak. I've never. No, find it. Bullshit. I've never said nothing burger. Recently, what you want?
Within 2 shows.
I'll give you 4 shows. Find it.
Make it
find
6.
it. 8. Find
Done.
it.
Okay.
And then we'll count the times you go,
You're supposed to stop me from doing that.
It's impossible. This is you. And it's the imperfections that make you perfect.
The point is that it didn't work. He's right. Pechenik is totally right about this, which is, it was a flop if it was designed to run the prices up.
Now, here's the funniest part. Sure.
And by the way, I thought it would.
I said they were talking 100, and you said, no, that's not going to happen. It went up.
I don't believe 100, but I believe 20 points up.
But it went up like to 60 and then back down again.
Yeah.
Final clip, which is funny, because obviously, all right, so this didn't work. we still have the looming war with Iran, and we're locked and loaded. And what does it mean? Why is Trump doing this?
Well, what Trump tends to do when he says we're locked and loaded, and the Iranians are pretty smart. They've watched Trump over the years, just like I did in New York, and we know that he actually builds what he says he builds. He built Woolman Memorial Park, ice skating ring. He built 42nd Street. He built the Trump Tower. So they're interested more than anything else. Where is Trump going to come in, and where would he like to build a hotel? Quite frankly, Tehran.
That's what North Korea wants too. Where's my Trump hotel?
Exactly correct. That's why I think Pompeo got rid of Bolton, and Pompeo's going to make a deal, and somewhere on the southeastern coast of North Korea, you're going to see a Trump Tower and a Trump hotel. Similarly, I'm not being facetious, you're going to see in Tehran and Azerbaijan and Tabriz all kinds of Trump Tower hotels. He's not interested in war, never has been, never will be. But he will use force and the threat of force in order to force you to come to the tables. But he has no problem coming back again and again and again until he cuts the deal. And he'll cut the deal.
I think he listens to us too much.
Wow.
He's getting way too many ideas from us.
The drone again, naturally.
There you go, everybody. Fake drones, fake drones.
Well, that's something you don't hear on the networks. The whole thing was a scam.
Dude, you don't even hear it on Alex Jones anymore.
Constantly.
But yeah, it makes sense. And then you hear Pence at this hour. So that makes a lot of sense. It's Pence sense. It makes so much sense for him to also be echoing this and making kind of war talk when they have no intention whatsoever. And everyone I know who has family in Iran or was born in Iran, lived in Iran, they all say, these mullahs and the Americans, they always work together. We're not really worried. I mean, it sucks. They got a lot of problems, but they're never really worried about America coming in and wiping them out. Well, they feel there's too much collusion. Too much collusion.
Could be.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that anything said there was beyond the realm of possibility.
Right. Exactly.
What else we got here?
Oh, man, Trudeau. This is...
did you see Trudeau's in blackface?
Yes, I got the clips. I got everything.
Oh, good, because I got the photo, but I never got the clips.
Oh, yeah, I got... Well, here's what I'm going to do. I have so I have the clip as brought to us by Fox News, which I think is important. And then, because this is all part of kind of cancel culture stuff. At least they're trying to cancel Trudeau out with this. Thank you, Time Magazine. And so then I have his actual statement, but here's the hyperbole.
Off the top, we should note the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau admits the picture is him. It shows Trudeau wearing brown makeup on his face, neck, and hands during a party in 2001. At the time, the 29-year-old was teaching at a private school called West Point Grey Academy. The school was holding an Arabian Nights-themed gala, and Trudeau was dressed up as a character from Aladdin, complete with robes, headdress, and brown skin. The party was attended by faculty, administrators, and parents, and the photo was given to Time, formerly Time Magazine, by a Vancouver businessman who was part of the West Point Grey community, and the man said it's important the public see the picture. This is not a good start to the Prime Minister's re-election campaign because Trudeau is already involved in a scandal over whether he pressured his then Attorney General to drop corruption charges against a large and powerful Canadian engineering firm. It also may not sit well with voters considering Trudeau has called himself a champion of minority groups and Canada's many cultures. He is speaking right now. He was asked if he'll resign. He did not answer the question. He has said that he did this before. This picture was not the first time. He acknowledges that at the time he did not think it was racist, but now he knows that it was racist. Let's listen to him.
Every time you've done something like this, Mr. Trudeau, is that the only time in your life you've ever done something like that?
When I was in high school, I dressed up at a talent show and sang Deo with makeup on.
He sang Deo. For those who are too young, Deo is also known as the Banana Boat song made famous by Harry Belafonte. Here we go. Here we go. There we go. And this is often done by big black women with lots of bananas all over the place. And I think I've seen some old school actresses dress up and do this. I think Lucille Ball might have even done it once or twice. So here now, okay, so that's really sensationalized, and this is 20.
I consider it to be the funniest thing in the news this week.
It's funny because he's such a social justice warrior.
Yeah, that's why it's funny. Exactly.
But I will give him props for just explaining what happened. Here's his full statement, a little calmer and not so shouty, and I think better audio too.
In 2001, when I was a teacher out in Vancouver, I attended an end-of-year gala where the theme was Arabian Nights. And I dressed up in an Aladdin costume and put makeup on. I shouldn't have done that. I should have known better, but I didn't. And I'm really sorry.
Do you think you should have done this? Would you have called for them to step down?
I think there are people who've made mistakes in this life, and you make decisions based on what they actually do, what they did, and on a case-by-case basis. I think I deeply regret that I did that. I should have known better, but I didn't.
Yeah. So what else can you do? I'm sorry. And that's what he's doing. However, if they let him get off, which of course he will, then there's another chink in the armor. Oops, did I say chink? A chink in the armor that, of this whole social justice warrior cancel culture movement, which, thank goodness, we're seeing some resistance. We typically don't do show business things, but I think that seeing as we're slowly being scrubbed away from Twitter for probably similar reasons, including not having a check mark, the SNL comedian scandal was just fabulous.
And tonight, a dramatic reversal of fortune for a comic who...
By the way, this is NBC reporting on NBC. Gotta love that.
...had just been hired by Saturday Night Live, now fired over racist and homophobic remarks. Here's Stephanie Gosk.
It's Saturday Night Live!
Tonight, comedian Shane Gillis is out of a job. His offer to join Saturday Night Live rescinded after days of backlash over racist and homophobic slurs he used during a podcast.
Damn, Chinatown's nuts.
The video surfaced just after it was announced Gillis would join the SNL cast, along with the show's first comedian of East Asian descent. Now a spokesperson for show creator and producer Lorne Michaels releasing this statement, writing in part, "We hired Shane on the strength of his talent as a comedian and his impressive audition for SNL. We were not aware of his prior remarks that have surfaced over the past few days. The language he used is offensive, hurtful, and unacceptable." 31-year-old Gillis, who made a name for himself in stand-up from New York to L.A., responding tonight. "I'm a comedian who was funny enough to get SNL. That can't be taken away. I understand it would be too much of a distraction. I respect the decision they made. I'm honestly grateful for the opportunity." The coveted job on SNL, which appears on NBC Network, has launched comedians' careers for decades. Tonight, one comedian watched the chance slip through his fingers. Stephanie Gosk, NBC News, New York.
So, I watched the video. It's a podcast, and it was the hidden episode or some bullshit like that. And they're talking about Chinese restaurants and making fun of accents, which nothing that we don't do.
China is asshole.
And exactly about Chinese and Asians. It was guffaw, ha, marginally funny. I'm sure I've never seen this show. I'm sure that they make fun of everybody, as we often do. And it's always surprising that when we make fun of everyone and then someone will get bent out of shape. You never hear from them, but, well, my wife is this or my brother's this and people forget that, you're supposed to be able to offend equally. Luckily, I'm seeing comedians push back. And Bill Burr would have to... Have you seen his new special?
Yes, I have.
I thought it was pretty good.
Well, I thought it was... it wasn't a one sit-down where like the Chappelle show where you just started watching, you couldn't stop. But it was in the same. It was kind of like I like Bill Burr. I think he's a hilarious guy. He's very down to earth, kind of borderline right winger, and he is funny. He's extremely funny. But I hate to say it, but compared to the Chappelle, because these came out pretty close to each other.
I agree.
It was kind of this. It was second tier. Well, but I liked it. It was good.
What I thought was interesting about that special is he taped it at the Royal Albert Hall in front of a mainly British audience.
That was fascinating.
And,
yes,
and the shit translated. A lot of it translated. It was good. I was like, "Phew, man."
Well, he also one of Burr's shticks is that he will do he'll do something very offensive to the point where the audience just freezes.
Yeah. Yes.
And then he uses that. Right. Johnny Carson as a comic used to pull this kind of thing too. He loved to do these bomb gags, and then he would work on that. And he gets the audience to freeze, and then he will give the audience grief. And he does it. Burr is really, really adept at this particular gambit. And I've never seen anyone any better at it, actually. But yeah, I saw it. I liked it.
And so David Spade has a show, Lights Out. I think I told you should probably give that a watch.
I have been trying to catch it. It's on at 8:30.
I just put it on the DVR. Otherwise,
network.
Yeah, I just put it on the DVR because it's on too. Believe it or not, it's on too late for me. I have to be in bed. And David Spade was on SNL, and he had Jim Jeffries on. I think it's Jim Jeffries from Australia, I think, and Bill Burr. I'll just play this just because they're doing it. They're responding publicly, and that, at the very least, is needed.
Well, this is just cancel culture. The guy shouldn't have been fired. It's just a couple of things back in his history. We're going to go through everyone's history, or are we going to get rid of every sketch that SNL has done that involves race? Like, I remember John Belushi dressing as an Asian man with a samurai sword. That was the whole sketch. or maybe we could have
bread.
What was it? Mike Myers. He used to play a Japanese host like this, and if they got the question wrong, they had to cut their hand off.
Did they go back and also try to look at good things that the person might have done, or are they just looking for the bad stuff? Is it you just scroll through, help cat out of a tree? That's not it. Help grandmother walk across the street? That's not it. You know, said something on a podcast. There it is.
Yeah, you know what?
I mean, you could do that. You could honestly do that to anybody. So I don't get it. And then I don't get if you say something like that, you can't work in a sketch show, but like it's okay from what? He can work in a lumber yard?
Yeah.
You know? He's certainly going to meet more Asians there, right? Then on SNL, it's a joke about how SNL's not hiring Asians. Jesus Christ.
Also,
now I'm in trouble?
Yeah.
We're not running for office. When is this going to end?
Yeah. Is it
millennials? You're a bunch of rats.
Exactly. Bunch of rats. Now, the thing that never comes up is, why did SNL fire him? And we know the answer. No Agenda Nation knows the answer. It's because they don't want to launch their new season with this kind of controversy that the advertisers won't like. That's the bottom line. I'm sure that every comedian on SNL is like, well, it's all right. Exactly what he said. They had entire bits about this in the past.
Yeah, I think you made a good point there.
Racist bits, all kinds of things. So the thing is that the people who do this, they're very successful. How can it's when I went to Iraq in 2003 with the Dutch Marines, and we walked around different towns, and I meet people, and it's kind of a it's like the USO. It's you get to meet culture and the people. So, okay, fine. Meanwhile, I'm with 20 guys in tanks, so it's pretty safe for old Adam. And I think it was the commander of the unit said, what really fueled a lot of what's going on here, because it's a very confusing place, certainly in 2003, is, or actually going back to the first Gulf War when we had the Scud missiles. Remember the Scuds? Scud missiles. And these things were big and bulky, and sometimes they just crashed in the ground and just stuck there like Wile E.
Most of them broke up in flight.
Like Wile E. Coyote had shot it off and it didn't explode on impact. All kinds of weird stuff. We said what was so fantastic was the feedback loop. Is these guys would, light off a Scud, run back to their hut, with their satellite dish and watch Wolf Blitzer report on it on CNN. And this is kind of what we're seeing here. It's like, let's all jump on this. Let's go completely crazy. And then they'll get canceled. And they think that they have this power, but it's really the advertisers that hold the power. And, those things can change over time. You going to say something?
No, I was just thinking that, you're correct. I was thinking, yep, Adam's right.
It's this feedback loop, And by the way, it's like a pressure cooker, where everyone's so, I gotta impeach Trump, and we're trying to blow the valve open, and all of a sudden, there's a little teeny valve over there, Kavanaugh! And spew the steam out the little Kavanaugh hole, which lasted for exactly 24 hours.
Yeah, well, it's coming back.
Kavanaugh's coming back after this book has been discredited? After it's been discredited?
Yeah.
What you got?
I don't have any clips. I thought you knew. I mean, they're going after him again.
Yeah, but no, they went after him, and the whole. Oh, you probably haven't followed this. So the New York Times published something, and it was from a book, and they omitted the fact that the person they were talking about didn't remember the whole incident. And then the two journalists who wrote this, who work for the New York Times, it was a PR piece for their book, said, well, in the editing process, in the rush to get the paper out, somehow they inadvertently removed the part that the witness couldn't remember any of this whole premise that we're talking about. So I think it kind of fell in. It's a dud. I don't think that.
Well, everything's a dud,
right? But so they're not really doing much else now. It's just dud world. But yeah, and there's going to be a lot more canceling before some of this ends. But I love hearing Chappelle and Bill Burr and other people just pushing back against it. Come on.
Well, they're on their own. I mean, they're on these specials that don't have any to worry. There's no worry about advertisers on Netflix. And there's no worry. I mean, there's a slight worry about advertisers on Amazon. And Amazon actually has put on one of these little stand-ups. They're starting to do stand-up comedy bits now. And they've got a girl who is one of the social justice warriors pushing back the other way on Amazon.
Huh.
Interesting. And I'll have to get the details on this woman.
Yeah, you notice that
but she doesn't sound funny.
You notice that they're tried. Oh, this is a good point. Thank you. So when it's an advertiser-based medium, you're very quick to get canceled. When it's not advertiser-based, turns out that people really aren't that motivated. So I did see calls for, I'm canceling my Netflix subscription. Well, of course, no one does. There's bull crap. They're not really canceling that. So you see that the model, it's like our model. Wow. It is like our model. That's why we haven't been canceled yet.
We haven't been canceled because we don't care.
And with that, I'd like to thank you for your courage and say in the morning to you, the man who put the C in cancel culture twice, John C. Dvorak.
In the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. Also, in the morning to all the ships at the sea, boots on the ground, feet in the air, subs in the water, and all the dames and knights out there.
Yes, and in the morning to our trolls in the troll room, where you can always get an invite to noagendasocial.com. If you go in there right now, you can sit with other trolls. Let's see how we done. We had 736 earlier. We currently have 944 trolls. Hello, trolls. It's good to have you guys here. And there's always something going on there. You can listen to the live stream, which is 24/7, with hundreds of shows and episodes to listen to. Also, a big in the morning to our artist for episode 1173. We titled that The Vinyl Vote. And John Fletcher. Fletcher is back. He gave us the danger blowhole sign, which was simply just the best. I don't think we had any argument, did we?
Well, we had an argument about, yeah, we did, but there was not, it's because no one caught anything really good, and we went to what was the best, which was simple.
Yeah, we had an argument with non-existent people who had not delivered anything good. Is that what you're saying?
Something like that. I remember the moment, and it was like, I would say that this, like, no offense to Fletcher, he knows we love him,
of course,
but we settled.
Well, we didn't go into the evergreens. Let's put it that way. That's always a good start.
That's a plus.
If you don't go into the evergreens. This is our Value for Value network, where we're honest and we love everyone who participates in it. We have Fletcher, who does all kinds of stuff for us. We just have so many people involved in this program, and you're all producers. And just like Hollywood, we like to thank the producers who came in with financial support of the show, particularly in the higher numbers, we like to call them, and we like to honor them with their executive producership and associate executive producership.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present the Grand Duke of the Pacific Northwest, Sir Dwayne Melanson.
That's right. Right up top.
Yes, and curiously, he's right on top. And the only executive producer with a light show for some reason. Well, I think it's because of the palindrome. The curse
of the palindrome.
I blame everything on that now. So Dwayne Melanson in Tigard, Oregon, or Tigard, I don't know. 33333. ITM Gents, I'll be attending Oregon Local 33 meetup this Friday in Wilsonville. Only a handful. I wonder if the Squirrel Burger place is still there. Only a handful of. It was a hamburger place, and you had the Pacific Northwest hamburger signature hamburger. If anyone hasn't had one, they used to have them at Burger Master, which I think is folded, and other burger places where it's a cheeseburger with an egg on it.
Oh no! I do like the ideal of a squirrel burger, though. I think that could get legs.
It's called Squirrel Burger, but it's beef.
I'll eat squirrel.
Yeah, it's a burgoo.
It's like rabbit. It's like cat. Squirrel. Tastes a bit like cat. It's not that much different.
Cat probably is pretty good.
I've had
it.
I've had cat.
Only a handful of RSVPs so far, but hoping to see many knights, dames, and wannabes as possible. The value you two bring to our community is immense. Thank you for your courage. Jingle, the more you know, please.
The more you know in the morning.
You've got karma.
Beautiful. Thank you.
And now I'm remiss because I did not look up our next.
I have it.
You may have his email.
I do. I have it.
Okay, good. Well, let me just read his vitals.
Okay.
Sir Dave Fugazotto, who is actually a baron, $239.19, and you have his email.
Yeah, and just as I said that, it popped off the screen. Give me a second to retrieve it again. Where did it go? Here we go. Dear Jeeves and Worcester, I bid you in the morning encloses my donation of $239.19 in recognition of Saudi Arabia National Day on the 23rd of September. So
we could have made that our celebration.
Well, the 23rd is right around the corner. Hence 23919. Given events of late, we are hoping they will eschew any further fireworks. I'm getting in a bit early, but I'm traveling this weekend. Didn't want to miss the chance. John, feel free to use the amount as yet another one of your fabulously effective donation gimmicks. I'm sure.
They all turn on me eventually.
As he says, I'm sure it'll be a smashing success because, well, Saudi Arabia. We have a long weekend for the holidays, so I'm headed to kick around Ethiopia for a few days. Wow. A cheap and short flight and a surprisingly easy online visa application process. Should be a fun trip. About 40 degrees cooler. Where's that sweater I packed? Finally, this amount levels me up to Earl. Well, we need to put him on the list. I will for now keep my current holdings of America's heartland and Saudi Arabia. However, an ulterior motive of my trip this weekend is to meet with some more influential Uber drivers to discuss Ethiopia's entry into my sphere of influence. I shall keep you posted. And he says, I didn't see this. Okay, clip request is the ISO of the guy yammering in Arabic from show 1173, which for our purposes we will assume is wishing the world a happy Saudi Arabia day, followed by a little girl yay, and what is the last thing? And travel goat karma. Well, we happen to be able to do that on the fly.
You've got karma.
And thank you very much. Sir Dave Fugazotto, I'm going to put you on the list right now as the Earl, and it's the Earl of America's heartland in Saudi Arabia. Thank you so much.
Michael Goodell in Grosse Pointe, Michigan, $231.41. And he says, I guess I should close that and open this. Ward Detwiller hit me in the mouth back in March, and my amygdala has been steadily shrinking ever since. As this is my first donation, I need to be de-douched.
You've been de-douched.
He wants China asshole and job karma. Please, I choose to start with this amount as this is my number of the number of words I've written in my latest novel. One suggestion, Adam has expressed a need for something more contemporary than War and Peace for overly long notes. And by the way, I'm the one who uses the War and Peace joke for these notes.
That's correct.
Because I'm stuck with them. For overly long notes, of which this one is in danger of becoming, not really. Try saying he or she went all Neil Stephenson on me.
Stevenson.
Yeah, who cares? Keep up the good work, and I've adopted the Stephen because of the basketball player. Keep up the good work, and thank you for your courage.
China is asshole.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's
Please.
vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Well, there goes my SNL gig.
So there goes your SNL gig, and there goes your visa.
To China.
I rebuke that clip.
You rebuke that clip?
I rebuke it. Yeah.
What does that mean? You rebuke it?
I don't know. But it's when I go to the office and they ask, you're responsible for this clip? I say, I have rebuked publicly. I've rebuked.
All right. You know what you can do? You can say, I rebuked and I blame Adam Curry.
I rebuke and I blame Adam Curry.
Because he's no pussy.
Daniel Oslin is next on the list. $201.33 from Blaine, Minnesotans. Taking a career leap and needs some jobs karma. Dealer's choice. I've been listening since 2008, and No Agenda still remains the best podcast in the universe.
Thank you very much, Daniel.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
And that's it. That's our 4 people. And then it drops off, by the way, for the next segment. There's nobody in the $100 range.
I got lots of long clips for today. We don't have a lot of donation content.
I should mention, since I'm looking at the spreadsheet now, how many people do you think took part on the 9, 19, 19, and 19 hours? Right now, we got like a triple, quadruple palindrome. How many people? Give a wild guess.
Well, why don't we tease that so people will stay listening to find out how many it really was?
Okay.
I did want to mention, because I did open up the spreadsheet today, and I always love looking at people who know they're not going to mention, but they put notes in. And so I can't mention his name, but he's a consistent 4-cent donor from Anthem, Arizona, and he says only 14 weeks to knighthood. So I don't know how many times you need to donate 4 cents.
It's bull crap.
Thank you.
By the way, donating 4 cents is like donating nothing because PayPal just takes it all.
That's correct. Thank you to our to be Earled executive producer for this show and our associate executive producers. These are the credits that are exactly the same as in Hollywood, and we'll vouch for you if anyone ever questions that. And they are valuable there where credits are recognized. As John said, we'll be thanking more people in our very few, but more people in our second half. And please remember us for Sunday.
Dvorak.org/NA.
You know so much now. You know about the cancel culture. You know why it's happening.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
بفضل من الله تعالى.
Actually, it means something like God is loving. Isn't that what it is? The Yemeni thing?
Oh, I forgot.
A whole bunch of people answered us.
I know. And I don't remember the exact translation, but it's something
forgot
minor.
It was your question.
I know. I'm just sorry that I'm somehow it was kind of boring, to be honest about it.
Okay. Hey, I got a couple of notes from the former New York banker. And I wanted to know if you guys had discussed this over at the Dvorak Horowitz Unplugged, that the Fed started something they hadn't done in about 10 years since the Great Recession. And they started injecting money into the system as the overnight lending rates between banks spiked. At one point, there was a bid for 10%. And this is very similar to what happened in the 2007-2008 crisis. And they've already pumped in $56 billion. They think they can go up to $73 billion. Well, you can probably just double that. I'm sure these guys are. They talk a big game. They do all kinds of stuff. Did you guys talk about this injection? Or did it not happen yet?
Not this particular thing.
And now, do you know what this means? Do you understand this? I mean, I
not completely. This is banker stuff.
The overnight repo rate, as it's known, which is what banks and other financial players charge each other to lend cash in exchange for super safe bonds, should be close to 2%, but it shot up almost as high as 10% on Tuesday. One of the underlying causes of this scarcity of reserves compared with the amount of treasury bonds in the market, that has made banks less willing to lend to each other even in exchange for safe government bonds. To settle markets down, this is from the Wall Street Journal, the Federal Reserve Bank of New York has dipped into this market, conducting 3 auctions this week where banks could swap treasuries for new reserves. So the banker sent me this note when it happened. I guess he sent it to me on Wednesday. It happened Tuesday in the overnight. And I, of course, said, well, what does it mean? And this follows along perfectly with what he told us before. Do you remember he talked about Goldman Sachs maybe being the next bank to go out of business?
Yeah.
So here's what he wrote me. This is additional capital requirements that have been put in since the crisis, which make it harder to borrow overnight. That's corroborated. That there's more kind of Sarbanes-Oxley type rules, and they have to have a certain amount of money on hand since the crisis. And I think they might have tightened down a little bit or started yammering, and the banks are really doing this. So to continue, the banker says additional capital requirements are put in since the crisis make it hard to borrow overnight where huge amounts of money sits. Like all other big banks, central bank level borrowing is no real credit risk here, just another way the Fed is needed to make things work smoothly. Good for big U.S. banks, bad for trading houses, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, foreign banks, and large investors. When the Fed needs to step in, there's always a loser. So this could be the Goldman Sachs moment, kind of like Lehman and Bear Stearns 10 years ago.
Well, Goldman Sachs should have been amongst that group 10 years ago, according to most of the people, especially the ones that worked at Lehman. So it's possible. I mean, maybe not. It's hard to predict. If you could predict this stuff so well, you wouldn't be talking to anybody. You'd just be maintaining all your castles.
Maybe he's just trying to share the wealth, John. You're so skeptical.
Either that or trying to manipulate you and the market.
Yeah, I'm going short Goldman, everybody. Hey, dude, I'm a podcaster. Give me a break.
Podcasters revolt. Podcasters in blackface.
Yeah. Podcasters in blackface. I like it.
Yeah. I think it'd be a good podcast, especially if it was just audio.
Yes, I'm wearing my Aladdin outfit. What are you wearing, John? In your podcasters in blackface.
Stephen Fetchit.
Podcasters in black. PIBF. Podcasters in blackface. Nice. That's a very good idea for a show. I think I'll start another one. Zwarte Piet podcast. Exactly.
Okay, well, anyway, let's go on to the little politics. We're done with it.
Oh, yes. Let's do some political stuff.
I collected a bunch of Biden gaffes.
Yeah, yes. It's kind of your beat.
Well, I've got a couple of them that are interesting, and then one I think it's been misapplied to Biden. I think they're giving it's a bum rap. But I have the corn pop story, which is that idiotic story that he told. I think it was a couple of years ago.
It's great. It's great. It's a great story.
It's a crappy story, but it was a and Biden drops like sometimes entire sentences the way Ron Paul used to do, where Ron Paul would be talking about something, but then he has some little things in the middle of it, but he'd have a little auctioneering going on in the middle of this thing, and you're expected to know what he's supposed to be saying. But Biden does that. And here he is. Here's the corn. Let's start with this because this I don't know if it's a bullcrap story or not. Somebody did some research.
You don't know if it's a bullcrap story?
I learned a lot.
Got me on that one.
And I learned that it makes a difference. This was the diving board area, and I was one of the...
I think you need we need to set it up by saying, for those who didn't see it, that he's in a black community. He's talking about when he was a lifeguard at this, in this mainly public pool, mainly used by black kids. I think that's his point, and he's surrounded by black people.
I learned a lot, and I learned that it makes a difference. This was the diving board area, and I was one of the guards. And there was a 3-meter board. And if you fell off sideways, you landed on the darn cement over there. And Corn Pop was a bad dude. And he ran a bunch of bad boys. And
Whoa.
I did.
I'm surprised no one called him out on that. Racist. You can call black men boys. Come on, Joe.
And Corn Pop was a bad dude. And he ran a bunch of bad boys. And I did. And back in those days, to show how things have changed, one of the things you had to use, if you used pomade in your hair, you had to wear a bathing cap. And so he was up on the board, wouldn't listen to me. I said, "Hey, Esther, you, off the board, or I'll come up and drag you off."
Can you imagine? I mean, this is being completely glossed over. Calling a black man Esther Williams has got to be the most racist thing I've heard. It's funny, but it's got to be racist. Could you say that today? Hey, Esther Williams? I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Well, he came off, and he said, "I'll meet you outside." My car, these were all public housing behind it. My car, there was a gate out here. I parked my car outside the gate.
Yeah, the Stargate.
And he said, "I'll be waiting for you." He was waiting for 3 guys in straight razors. Not a joke. There's a guy named Bill White, Mouse, the only white guy, and he did all the pools. He was the mechanic. And I said, "What am I going to do?" He said, "Come down here in the basement where all the pool filter is. You know the chain, there used to be a chain that went across the deep end. And he cut off a 6-foot length of chain. He folded up, he said, 'You walk out.'"
That was a chain that went across the deep end. Those are plastic. Like the plastic red and white chain. Is that what he got? He's talking about a chain in the pool. It's not a...
Maybe it was a big heavy metal chain back in the day.
No.
Where all the pool filter is. You know the chain, there used to be a chain that went across the deep end. And he cut off a 6-foot length of chain. He folded up, he said, "You walk out."
He cut it off with scissors.
With that chain. And you walk to the car and say, "You may cut me, man, but I'm going to wrap this chain around your head." I said, "You kidding me?" He said, "No, if you don't come back." And he was right. So I walked out with the chain. And I walked up to my car. And they had, in those days, you used to remember the straight razor. You'd bang them on the curb, get them rusty, put them in the rain barrel, get them rusty. And I looked at him, but I was smart then. I said, "First of all," I said, "when I tell you get off the board, you get off the board, and I'll kick you out again, but I shouldn't have called you Esther Williams. I apologize for that. I apologize, but I didn't know that apology was going to work." He said, "You apologize to me?" I said, "I apologize for that, not for throwing you out, but I apologize for what I said." He said, "Okay," closed the straight razor, and my heart began to beat again.
Now, why was the point? Straight razors are dangerous and extremely sharp. Why would you want them rusty, and why would you leave them in a bucket or whatever he said to get them all rusty and scraped up? because there's not going to be there's nothing like a straight razor. If you're going to cut someone, you don't want it so it's dull. You want to make it dull. What's the point? You can use any old knife.
I think what's
the point of that?
Well, back in the day, of course, bad Leroy Brown, baddest man in the whole damn town. He had a rusty razor in his shoe. And I think Joe has just had that in his head. He's like, what can I do? I'm going to raise a rusty razor. Shave his belly with a rusty razor. I don't know. It causes infection. The whole story is nuts. Pee on it.
Well, here he is. This is the more typical. This was the gaffe of the week. And everybody, and I don't know what he was trying to say, but his numbers are way off. This is Biden on the 720 million women.
You get a tax break for a racehorse. Why in God's name couldn't we provide a $8,000 tax credit for everybody who has child care costs? It would put 720 million women back in the workforce. It would increase the GDP, to sound like a wonk here, by about 0.8%. It would grow the economy.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I really don't. We, of course, have about 325 million people in America.
Yeah.
In these United States.
So there can't be 720 million women.
Maybe
it's at 120 and he sees the 1 as a 7 because some people draw it funny.
Oh, you mean he was reading or he read it wrong?
He wasn't reading that I know of. He was just chatting. But I think it is sometimes in your head, especially if you read something off of a prompter, maybe you saw the number in his head is 720. I don't know. It was really stupid. But now I'm going to be balanced here on the pod show and the podcast. With this one, the African gaffe, which I'm going to say that they were condemning Biden for answering a question and then saying that Guyana was in Africa. And if we listen carefully, you can see that what Biden said is not really inaccurate.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Vice President. Growing up as a child in Guyana, my grandfather used to tell us stories that God made the United States. He told us about the wonders and freedoms in this country. I live my life striving to become an American citizen, and I'm proud to have achieved that goal. As President, what will you do? The future grandfathers will continue to share the stories of our great nation.
I've been to Ghana. I've been all through Africa. And
I don't understand. What's wrong?
Guyana's in South America.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
But
he's been to Africa.
No, he says, I've been to Ghana. That's what Biden says. Biden did not hear
this guy
Guyana.
Was talking about Guyana. Well, to be honest, if that's what he meant, I pronounce it Guyana. What did he say?
Thank you for being here, Mr. Vice President. Growing up as a child in Guyana, my grandfather...
he's from Guyana, or whatever he said.
I would pronounce it Guyana, but...
that's the way I pronounce it, but he said it's slightly
let's listen to Joe here.
Local. But he could easily be heard if you're thinking... You're thinking there's a black guy must be from Ghana. He said Ghana. I've been to Ghana. I've been all over Africa. It's just he just misheard the guy. This is not a true Biden gaffe. This should be off the list.
And her head is gone.
Here it is.
I've been to Ghana. I've been all through Africa.
Well, he says Ghana, but it almost sounds a little bit like Guyana. Let's listen again.
I've been to Ghana.
No, he says Ghana. He says Ghana. He just misunderstood it.
Yeah, he said Ghana. So this is not a legit. This is This is an illegitimate Biden gaffe. Please take it off your list immediately. All those who are collecting these, as am I.
You're collecting the good gaffes? Is that what you're doing?
Only real gaffes.
Only real ones. Oh, excellent.
Anyway, that's my Biden segment.
That's good. I liked it. Well, let's talk about the Green New Deal for a second, because tomorrow, and many people will be listening to this tomorrow, so when we said yesterday, you're going to hear a lot about the kids on strike led by Greta Thunberg, who is...
I can have the perfect lead-in for this if you want to talk about it.
We may have similar, but what you got?
I doubt it, because you don't have it from Democracy Now!
No, I don't.
This is Climate News 1 and 2, which leads into the strike that you're going to discuss. But apparently Amy, who specifically asked Thunberg how to pronounce her name.
Yeah.
And you can come close to it.
Greta Thunberg.
Something like that. She now and she asked her twice. We had those clips. Yeah. She now calls her Greta Thunberg.
In climate news, a new study warns the global average temperature could rise by as much as 7 degrees Celsius or 12.5 degrees Fahrenheit above pre-industrial levels by the end of the century unless nations move rapidly to slash greenhouse gas emissions. The stark warning comes as world leaders are preparing to gather at the United Nations headquarters in New York on Monday for the Climate Action Summit. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said Tuesday the world is losing the race to avert catastrophe.
July was the hottest month ever. These 5 years will be the hottest 5 years in record. We see the rising level of the ocean taking place, the highest concentrations ever of CO2 in the atmosphere. We need to go back 3 to 5 million years to get the same levels of CO2. And at that time, water level was 10 to 20 meters higher than what it is today. So we are really dealing with a very dramatic threat, not only to the future of the planet, but to the planet today.
In Washington, D.C., youth climate leaders called out lawmakers Tuesday for failing to act urgently to prevent a climate catastrophe. 16-year-old Swedish climate activist, school strike leader Greta Thunberg, who was invited by Democrats to a meeting of the Senate Climate Crisis Task Force.
She didn't even get Greta right. Is Greta Thunberg? Listen to that again. This is the official pronunciation.
Swedish climate activist, school strike leader Greta Thunberg.
Greta Thunberg. I can do this now. Greta Thunberg. And people go, what the fuck is wrong with Adam? Greta Thunberg.
Who was invited by Democrats to a meeting of the Senate Climate Crisis Task Force, told the gathering, quote, "Don't invite us here to tell us how inspiring we are without doing anything about it." She added, "I know you're trying, but just not hard enough. Sorry," she said.
Yeah. This is a big move. Everybody's in on it. NBC, I don't know if you saw their climate confessions. They put up a website.
I contributed.
You did? Well, it's basically Twitter in squares. I mean, I don't know what's so great about this.
It's pretty funny if you read them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I love meat.
I have my own car because I think that public transit is horrible and unreliable. I compost at home, but not at work. I use way too much plastic. I live in South Carolina, so we don't have the options to buy products in specialty stores. I bought a year's worth of freeze-dried food in case of emergency. I'll probably never eat it before I die. So wasteful. This is very funny.
The whole thing is hilarious, and it's like we should probably have a link in the show notes.
Oh, it's in there. I got it. I got a link in the show notes.
Contribute their kind of lame. They don't have enough room to write an essay. It's like 140 characters.
Here's one. Something. I use a lot of Q-tips. I can't find a better alternative. I'm eating bacon with breakfast this morning, and I'll have it again tomorrow. See, this is why Twitter censors. This is why Twitter shadow bans. This is not what NBC wants.
No.
This is not what they want. But this is 150 countries, apparently.
Well, I'm sorry. Part 2 leads you into what you're going to discuss.
Okay, good. Here.
15-year-old Callan Benson of Maryland called on students and workers to join a massive series of climate strikes planned for Friday.
And you have to be involved. And that means you adults as well. You are the ones currently in power. We don't have time to wait till my generation takes over. It's you that have to act. We need you to listen to the scientists that are showing us that climate change is here and climate change is human caused. Stop burning fossil fuels, please, for my generation.
Organizers predict Friday's global climate strike will be some of the largest climate protests in U.S. history, with actions planned in over 800 sites in all 50 states. More actions are planned worldwide.
I have a big problem with this. New York, of course, is ground zero for this. That's where all the New World Order is assembling for the United Nations Global Assembly. And that's, it's no coincidence. This is all pre-planned. Greta Thunberg, took her little sailboat, and I guess she's been in the States the whole time. And all public schools in New York are going to go on strike, which of course is the opposite of what the word strike means. It's not a strike if the school says, okay, let's go to the, and they could have done it after school, perhaps, but no. So it's not really a strike. All parents.
It's not a strike in any by any sense of any meaning of the word, any definition.
All parents have to sign an approval that their child is going, and you know that half of these parents are afraid to say no. They don't want their kids singled out. And what are they doing? They're holding up signs saying you're not doing anything, which of course politicians aren't doing anything except trying to scam money out of this. And you're terrorizing these children. I have an idea. Why not, instead of going on strike, we all won't use our phones for 48 hours? That would save in some electricity. How about cleaning up the beaches or sweeping the streets or doing anything except just holding prefab signs, just like communist China, where the party put kids out to protest. This is nothing new. You put the children out there.
I want to do a quick mention. As this progresses, especially with Greta Thunberg, and that girl who just gave the little speech to 15-year-old, and she's in tears in her, she's just almost crying. This reminds me of the Communist Youth Party, the Nazi youth, the Hitler youth.
Yes.
Brainwash kids, easy to brainwash. You got them to the point now where they want to vote at the age of 8. It's just like, I'm wondering if this is not one great, big, monstrous social experiment to see how far you can go outside of government. In other words, it's not the United States that's doing this like it was Hitler or like it was Stalin, creating this movement of youth, but just independence, Soros, let's say. How far can you go? How far can you get with this, especially if everybody's kind of playing the game? To have a bunch of brainwashed kids who are really borderline morons at this point.
They are, in fact, Soros Jugend. That's what they are.
Soros
Jugend. So,
I like it.
So they had a panel on the Hill, and they brought in a bunch of kids, and this is typical of a report about this hearing, and then we'll listen to who these kids really are. So here's your teen climate activist.
I already have underlying issues of anxiety, and it's just really hard to grow up in a world full of ifs. I don't think a lot of people in Congress understand the conversations that are happening in everyday American high schools. And it's just this constant looming uncertainty, and it's this weird form of nihilism and weird just fear that's been existing in my generation, where kids are joking what is even the point? The world is ending. What are we studying for? What are we doing? And it's this kind of depression. It's this fear that is not just among me or my panelists here, but everyone. And that anxiety is something that no child should ever have to fear.
Very convincing. And this is absolutely true. You need to add to that kids are constantly being conditioned and trained to be shot at, even though the percentage of likelihood that it happens is quite low. The drills, the training, the constant, we saw the Sandy Hook parents come out with a video today, back to school, and showing, kids using their backpack to stop bullets and the skateboard to smash a window to escape. You're terrorizing these children. And yes, that's why you have these anxieties. Throw some SSRIs and antidepressants on top of them. Hey, you're slowing down a bit. Bam, some Adderall on that bitch, and you're going. And this teen climate activist is a part of the problem because her name is Ms. Margolin. She is Jamie Margolin from 0 Hour, which is one of the, it's in the group. Here are partners. They got a whole website. You can donate. Not a nonprofit. It's it's a political action fund. And their partners are the Sierra Club, 350.org, the Climate Reality Project, Al Gore, Indigenous Environmental Network, Women's March, Youth Empower, the Years Project, The Alliance for Climate Education. This is big money. Baltimore Beyond Plastic, Better Future Project, Biodiversity, Bye Plastic Bags, Care About Climate, Chesapeake Bay Foundation, the local ambassadors, Climate Hawks Vote, Earth Guardians, Hip Hop Caucus, I Matter, Mazaska Talks, M40, IMAC, Mother Earth Project, Our Climate Voices, Planet for the Planet Seattle, schools under 2 degrees centigrade, Schools for Climate Action. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And here she is talking like the shield that she really is.
How do I even begin to convey to you what it feels like to know that within my lifetime, the destruction that we have already seen from the climate crisis will only get worse?
Doesn't sound too much like a paranoid, scaredy cat kid now, does she, all of a sudden, like that previous clip? Oh, the nihilism, I don't know what to do.
What adds insult to injury is the fact that we keep getting promised what isn't there. On college applications, I keep getting asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? The media, pop culture, businesses, and the whole world tells me that I and my whole generation will have something to look forward to that we just don't. You're promising me lies. Everyone who will walk up to me after this testimony saying that I have such a bright future ahead of me will be lying to my face. It doesn't matter how talented we are. It doesn't matter how much work we put in, how many dreams we have. The reality is my generation has been committed to a planet that is collapsing. The fact that you are staring at a panel of young people testifying before you today, pleading for a livable earth, should not fill you with pride. It should fill you with shame. Youth climate activism should not have to exist. We are exhausted because we have tried everything. We've built organizations, organized marches, and worked on political campaigns. I sued my state government in a lawsuit called Piper versus the state of Washington.
Yeah, sounds like your typical teenage college, high school kid, doesn't it?
Along with 12 other plaintiffs for contributing to the climate crisis and denying my generation's constitutional rights to life, liberty, and property.
I thought it was life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Is it life, liberty, and property?
That would be it.
Why does she say property?
Well, she maybe has a big land holdings. I have no idea.
For contributing to the climate crisis and denying my generation's constitutional rights to life, liberty, and property. The lawsuit is also arguing that the natural resources of my state are protected as a right under the Washington State Constitution. The shellfish, salmon, orcas, and all of the beautiful wildlife of my Pacific Northwest home is dying due to ocean acidification caused by the climate crisis. And communities all over Seattle are suffering from the new fossil fuel infrastructure being built to lock in decades more of climate destruction into my state. My friends and I were warned to stay inside the last 2 summers because our city was shrouded in a suffocating smoke from wildfires. It gave me such bad headaches for so long, and my friends with respiratory illnesses had to go to the ER. Is this the future that we have to look forward to?
Climate change is real. It's real. It's real. It's real.
So these are just a bunch of activists, and the entire scholastic system worldwide, it appears, is in on this. If you want to go protest something else, you're not going to get approval from the school. And then the audacity to keep calling it a strike. Please. This is, and if the kids held up inside a sign that said, China is asshole, they are polluting everything, that would kind of give them a pass. But no. And meanwhile, this kind of noise, this kind of nonsense terrifies children. You're hurting your children. Take them out of school, homeschool, anything but this. This is ridiculous.
Again, I'm going to go back to the idea that the kids are part of a larger experiment. I mean, if you look at the documents for MK Ultra, which was a program from the CIA, we've discussed it a million times. It was supposed to be discontinued. We don't know that. But it starts by kind of frightening, making somebody, creating artificial PTSD by frightening somebody, tying them up, beating them up, giving them electroshock. There's a lot of ways to do it, but it's possible that you can get the same results by doing what we're doing, which is what you said. Making the kids worry about getting shot, so they're on edge all the time, and then pumping them full of this. The whole world's going to blow up if we don't do something about climate change.
And then
so the
add
kids
psychotropic
are very
drugs.
susceptible to becoming just MK Ultra zombies.
Yes.
But then you drug them. Drugging is another part of that whole experience.
It's part of MK Ultra. Yes,
it is. The drugging is part of MK Ultra. The terrorizing is part of MK Ultra. The propagandizing nonstop.
So
what is the point? Why are we treating these kids this way, and what are we trying to get out of it?
Well, how about I look at it a different way? I like your MK Ultra angle. I would say they took everything they learned from MK Ultra and they're applying it. This has nothing to do with a test. It's application. They know it works.
But I'm going to say that's a possibility. But what is the long game?
To steal our money and to keep the elite's money safe. Isn't that always the end game?
That is always the end game.
Yeah. All right, we need to do something lighthearted here. We need to change the pace for a second.
It's kind of lighthearted.
No, wait until you get this. My millennial taught me something that apparently has been all the rage for the past year, and you and I missed it.
Oh, no.
Mukbang. Are you familiar with mukbang?
I've heard the term.
Well, don't look it up, because that'll ruin it.
I'm not looking up anything. I'm writing it down as a possible show title.
Mukbang. Mukbang. YouTube videos have millions of views, and it's all from South Korea.
I'm here to look at a completely new, unusual trend called mukbang. It roughly translates as food porn, but not in the way you'd hope. It's more kind of like a food selfie, where users are logging on, eating lots of food to camera, and then thousands of other people are logging on to watch them.
So there's more to this report. So
we discussed this on the show. I had the clip of that guy who used to eat food. You know, he's very popular. He just eats like huge amounts of food and then bitches and moans and gets sick. And this guy's got millions of viewers.
Okay.
That's mukbang.
It's yes. And the keeper watches some.
We did not miss this.
But we didn't get the name mukbang. And we didn't get some other important facts. Yes, we did miss a lot of this story.
최고. Since 2011, a peculiar trend of live streaming while eating large quantities of food has become more and more popular in South Korea.
Here it comes.
The people who participate in mukbang have become minor celebrities in their own right, to the point that they're referred to as broadcast jockeys, or the more popular term, don't laugh, BJs.
So they've become BJs.
Yeah, well, I agree. We didn't catch BJs.
These so-called BJs have learned that there is such a thing as a free lunch. This is Park Soo-young, one of the country's most popular BJs, for whom mukbang was a full-time job. Better known as the Diva. At one point, she was making up to $9,000 a month through her fans' donations.
John! Exit strategy. We can do this.
$9,000 a month compared to the girls who do makeup videos is minor.
But we can do ASMR mukbang. Here's an example. This is a guy eating a pizza. We could do this. Well, maybe you're not in, but I think I need to do some mukbang.
I think you should do it. And I'll watch.
But listen to the headline. VJ becomes BJ. I mean, could it be any better? It's obvious. The promotion is right there, ready to go.
Yeah. Well, there's another dead end.
I'm the number one BJ in America, everybody.
I think we should start thinking about why it's popular to watch people eat. I think with the homeless situation out there, this is just a mockery. This is the elitist mockery of people who don't really get a good meal rarely.
I am with you. I'm totally with you. And but there's
this millennial arrogance.
Well, not entirely.
I don't know. I think it is. I think it's more of the millennials being, there's another guy who can't eat. I'm going to eat a big sandwich in front of you.
Well, the keeper watches this one guy on Instagram who always, it's not like huge quantities, but he eats cookies and stuff, and he's so into it, and it's funny to watch. It's not him consuming an entire meal like the BJs, but there is something about food that now it's not for me. I'm not food centric at all. And I'd be like, I'm hungry. Nah, fuck it, I'll smoke a joint. I mean, that's who I am. But a lot of people are very, very food centric, and there's something going on with this which is societal. And
everything's societal.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's just millennials. Hi, it's Adam Curry. Everybody, I am your BJ. It's the Muckbangers Ball, everybody. Oh. We got to go
to Korea. Do it with a Korean accent.
Got them OTG blues. Gonna bring you some news. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the vocal stylist and Mr. John C. Devorak. OTG. Got them OTG blues. Going OTG. Gonna bring you some news. I'm an OTG guy. OTG. I'm an OTG guy.
I don't know why I did that. Oh man, I was stunned. Yeah, you watched me like the Beatles.
No, normally I wouldn't play a jingle that long, but it was so good. I had to. You are really talented.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, he had the wrong key on his blues riffs. It should have been the key of bad.
Thank you, Hugh Allison. Yes, a couple of OTG mentions. I forgot a very important part of my report about Las Vegas. Bruno Mars, who we went to see, is the OG OTG artist. And I had completely forgotten what happened. About, I think it was a year and a half ago, Bruno Mars he was the first one. He started forbidding cell phones at his concerts. And we didn't know this, or I didn't think about it. And when we went to go into the theater, the Park Theater there at the MGM, there were people, throngs of people around a cardboard box. I thought maybe it was like some merchandise out of a little bag. It looked like beer cozies, actually. And so we just walked right through, and we went up to the metal detector, and I put my cloaked iPhone 5 down. The keeper had her little clutch, and she had her iPhone in there, and we just went through. And then when we're in there, we realized everyone's holding on to these little bags, and they're locked with the same mechanism similar to what you have in the clothing store, so you can't take the tag off. They have to demagnetize it at the end of the show.
Yes, this is, by the way, I should interrupt you and mention that this is a thing going on in the local schools.
Good.
And there's one school district here that has required the kids to come to school. I think it's San Mateo, which is one of the school districts. And they show it on the news all the time. It's a little gray bag, and they put their cell phone in there, and then they have this little magnetic locking mechanism that it's like exactly what you said. Mm-hmm. It's like the ones in the clothes. And then you can carry that. You can keep it or put it somewhere, but you can keep it. And then at the end of the school day, you unlock and you can get your phone back.
Yep.
And at first, the kids all objected. I don't know why, because you're supposed to be in school. You're not supposed to be on the phone, but okay. But then they said after a couple of weeks, the kids, they were studying harder, and everyone got into it. They said, no problem. I don't have to worry about, I don't have to worry about taking messages while I'm in class.
Yeah.
It's like a big deal. And I think this is going to be a national thing.
I hope so, and you're
just at the beginning of it if you notice it at that place. But this is, I think, and it's a California thing. I believe this will be a national trend because who the hell wants to teach a bunch of kids that are looking at their phone?
Well, in China, there's a 10-minute video which you'll find in the show notes. Here's about 50 seconds of it.
Teachers at this primary school in China know exactly when someone isn't paying attention. These headbands measure each student's level of concentration. The information is then directly sent to the teacher's computer and to parents. China has big plans to become a global leader in artificial intelligence. It has enabled a cashless economy where people make purchases with their faces. A giant network of surveillance cameras with facial recognition helps police monitor citizens. Meanwhile, some schools offer glimpses of what the future of high-tech education in the country might look like. Classrooms have robots that analyze students' health and engagement level. Students wear uniforms with chips that track their locations. There are even surveillance cameras that monitor how often students check their phones or yawn during classes. These gadgets have alarmed Chinese netizens. But schools say it wasn't hard for them getting parental consent to enroll kids into what is one of the world's largest experiments in AI education. A program that's supposed to boost students' grades while also feeding powerful algorithms.
China is asshole.
So the kids wear a headband that tracks their brain activity and changes color based upon their engagement, so the teacher can see where they're at, and they can see from each other where they're at. And the whole thing is, if there's a reason to get rid of phones, it's because they want to control the technology in the schools. This is only beginning. The BBC, by the way, are doing the most disgusting thing I've ever heard of with children and apps and phones, with the backing of Prince William.
And the prince's brother, William, making a splash with a new app as well. The BBC launching the app to fight cyberbullying. It was created with help from Prince William's cyberbullying task force. It's called Own It, and it recognizes if a child is typing something that could be hurtful and then asks the person to rethink what they're about to send. Interesting. It can also identify language suggesting a child is in trouble and encourage them to speak with a trusted adult.
I don't know about you, but that's what we call a keylogger. It's a keylogger. They're logging the kids' keystrokes and tracking what they're writing. Sounds great, Prince William. This is what could go wrong. This is fantastic. That, and from the BBC. It's disgusting.
They're idiots.
That's really disgusting. You and I have talked about the surveillance network known as the Ring doorbell. Now, in this case, which is what you want, is a positive message. The Ring doorbell saved the child.
Having allegations tonight out of North Phoenix. A mother accused of abusing her own son, and police say they have the visual evidence to prove it. Nicole Marker and her boyfriend, William Johnson, now facing charges. Police started investigating after Marker's young child showed up at school with a burn on his hand. Officers later recovering thousands of Ring video clips from inside and outside the child's home near 32nd Street in Bell. Police say those videos show the two adults assaulting that 6-year-old. Well, police say the abuse happened because the child struggled with reading words or sentences.
Oh, I'm so happy the Ring doorbell has saved the child once again. Some things of note. They discovered videos? No. They got a warrant and got 2,200 videos. The part of the report I'm puzzled by is the videos of outside and inside the house. I don't know what that's about. Maybe they have some other device. Maybe they have an Amazon Alexa, one of those screens. So
yeah, well, it just had to be a screen.
So this is, I think, ground zero of what these devices truly are intended for. And as you see, the cops just go and get a warrant. It's not a problem at all. Take that shit off of your door. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, tell it to the judge.
Good news. I've been to this town, actually. Fort Collins, Colorado.
Oh, yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful little town.
It's kind of a Colorado tech town.
But it's also kind of historic, if I recall. Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, they finally beat out Comcast in a I think this took them a couple of years. Multiple lawsuits. Yeah, it's going on since 2017. They now offer their own 1 gigabit per second service, flat rate, $60 per month to every resident. Now, the rollout is going to take a little longer, of course. Luckily, it's not that. They're doing like 20 homes a week, so it's going to take a while.
Slow.
Yeah, it's going to take a while. But good on them. And and they claim net neutrality. Well, we'll see how long that lasts. But I think that's a positive message. I'm very happy about that, and I'm elated about the new candidate for the ultimate OTG phone. It has just been announced. It was announced by HMD Global, the home of Nokia phones. They are coming out with the Nokia 2720 Flip. And the 2720 Flip is a flip phone. It's running Kai OS, which I kind of dismissed because Google made an investment in it. And there are, so they have Twitter app, Facebook app, a Google services app, but you can block all of those in the settings. It's specifically in there to allow you to not have those services. It's a Linux-based phone. It's, that's what Kai OS is. And there are guys now who have this device. I don't think it comes on the U.S. market for another couple of weeks. It's 4G. It's plastic. It's cheap. It's $150. It has a web browser. It can do some email, could do some texting. It doesn't have the full keyboard, but it does have big ass buttons to do your typing with. And I think that I'm very excited about this. I mean, I will forego the hearing aid benefit of the cloaked iPhone 5 just to get my hands on this. This is really a really smart dumb phone. And I'm very excited about it. The Nokia 2720 Flip, which should be available in the U.S. Unlike the banana phone, which they never came out with a device that worked for Verizon or worked for T-Mobile, only AT&T. So I'm excited. And then
this is the new anti-phone review.
Well, since it is the anti-phone review, I wanted to play fair, and I wanted to allow the guys from 9 to 5 Mac, who I consider to be absolute authorities in all things Macintosh, all things Apple, all things iPhone, and they reviewed the most important features of the new iPhone 11. There are 200, John, 200 improvements. This phone, how can you not have this phone, especially when you hear, obviously the most important improvements to the phone are up front in the report.
How's it going, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? In this video, we explore over 200 new, yes, 200 new iOS 13 features. You don't want to miss this. Be sure to like and subscribe for more videos like this. So arguably the flagship feature in iOS 13 is dark mode.
There you go.
Dark mode can be enabled from
dark mode.
Oh, yeah.
The number one feature of your $1,000 phone is dark mode. And that's it. That's the level that they're at now. Dark mode. And listen to the benefits of dark mode.
Dark mode. Dark mode can be enabled from display and brightness, just like this. And dark mode allows you to use your phone in dark environments comfortably.
Oh.
So what you'll notice is that a lot of the interface gets darker.
Oh no, John! In dark mode, a lot of the interface gets darker.
And that makes it so much easier to use when you're in a dimly lit environment. All the applications are going to be darker, and even third-party apps can join in on the fun.
Dark mode.
This is a feature that we've been looking forward to for quite some time, and it's finally here in iOS 13.
Yes, finally it's here. Dark mode is here.
The funny thing about this, that you mentioned it, is that you're right. This is like the big deal, which is beyond me, but okay. And And there was one article with the headline, "Once you go dark mode, you'll never go back."
Wow.
Which is a
racist.
Which is a play on a pun.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, this is really, you're reaching the bottom of the barrel here for this sort of thing. Now, I want to bring up something that I noticed at the Berkeley Bowl, and then apparently there was Comedy Day was last Sunday. And Mimi and Jay.
That's why Mimi was in town. It's the big day. Yeah, it's the big thing. They volunteer.
And Nick they're the whole beer contingent for Lagunitas, serving thousands of beers, the three of them. And but I saw it at Berkeley Bowl, and I didn't think much of it. But apparently they saw this happen quite a bit at the Comedy Day as they're selling beer.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the guy I'm watching. The guy's in front of me. He's just kind of a skinny millennial, classic, really, really skinny, with a T-shirt on and make him look even more skinny, and a bun, a man bun, and a kind of a scraggly beard. And he's checking out, and he takes his hand with his Apple Watch on it, and he clenches his fist. And this is exactly the way you're supposed to do this, because they were seeing this exact same thing at the beer fest or at the comedy day. They clenches his fist, and then it kind of got his hand and a fist in the air like he's protesting something, and then he lowers it down to the Apple Watch down into the RFID reader or whatever it is that these things have now, these certain terminals, and it beep beep. That means he paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
It goes down, he goes beep, and then he holds his fist up and goes, yeah.
And now he did it in dark mode.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, this is very sad. By the way,
they were seeing the exact same thing with the exact same way.
Everyone did the same thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Clenched fist.
Yeah.
Way of paying for beer.
Oh, my goodness. By the way, for the trolls and for people listening, the concept of OTG is not getting some stripped down, Android. The point is to have no notifications, to be able to communicate short messages, text message mainly, to be able to call someone, and in great necessity. And I only have one example. It's Saturday, we're out and about, we're doing stuff. I get a text from John. It says newsletter. And, we have a whole process for this. And I can't have the man waiting so long for me to proofread or whatever. And so then it'll take 10 minutes, but I can get my email. I can open up the document, and I can, do some rudimentary copy paste if there's something that needs to be changed. The point is, you don't want distraction. You want a long battery life, no distraction, but you're in communication. And of course, you want a Baofeng $25 ham radio, because that's what the future is for us. But this, the Apple cult is, I don't know. When you see a consumer do that, you've got to be really happy as a Tom Collins guy. It's like when people have a real reaction, like, yeah, I paid with Apple Pay. Yeah. I mean, that you just got to love that. But that child is clearly, lost.
Yeah, I was saying that the idea of holding a clenched fist and then paying like you're some sort of Superman, Dick Tracy or whatever you think you are, it's gross. It's kind of disgusting.
Even though when we were kids, we all desperately wanted the Dick Tracy wristwatch two-way radio. And now it's here. It's better than ever. And just get it off of me. I don't want that. Just get it out of my life. Get away from me.
It's got to be so easy to design some sort of a hack that can pull your data off of your watch if you're walking around. I mean, it's out in the open.
Yeah.
You should be able to bump into somebody with a little reader that can, don't you think?
Yeah, it's possible. Terminal, why not? Well, my ham radio now comes in dark mode.
Dark mode.
I have some interesting news about the unhoused situation, which is not just San Francisco, Los Angeles, Seattle, Austin, New York, Portland. It is everywhere in the United States. But before we go there, let's listen to some motivational speech from KFI Los Angeles, the big 50,000 watts. This is the John and Ken Show.
Now we begin with Chris Carlo from KFI News, who has an interesting story from the LA County Board of Supervisors. They want to find a way to get more homeless people to vote. Let's get Chris on. Chris?
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, good. Well, they are looking at a couple of things at today's meeting having to do with homeless people. One of them, as you just mentioned, they're helping to get more homeless folks, I guess, registered to vote. And I talked to a couple of the people that were pushing for this afterwards, and what they said is the problem that they keep running into is that you get homeless people who don't have an address, and so they go online and they try to put their address in, or they try to put the nearest intersection in, which is what they are legally allowed to do when it comes to registering in person, but the online website won't actually let them do it because of the way the state has set everything up. So it's not a county decision, it's actually a state decision. And so because of that, it's harder to get more people who are homeless registered to vote. I talked to one guy who was homeless, and I said, why is it important for homeless folks to register to vote and vote? And he said, literally, this is the only thing that we have.
Of course. It makes so much sense. Don't help them. Get them to vote. Promise them stuff. Have them vote for you. And then put them in dark mode. this is very cynical, this move to register
the whole
the
thing
homeless.
is so cynical.
So the Los Angeles Times published an op-ed, and I think it's very important for what's going on, and it may have already have influence that we were unaware of, or we certainly will be aware of soon. And this came out on August 23rd, so we missed this. And the title is How an Idaho Court Decision Will Increase Homeless Encampments on LA Streets. Here's what happened. Last September, so that would be a year ago, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. Now, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, is that like kind of the last stop before you get to the Supreme Court?
It's one of the last stops. There's also the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. There's a bunch of them. Oh,
okay, but the ninth is one of the hard. They're the ones that are always stopping anything Trump wants.
That's the one. That's the one around here. That's the San Francisco one with a bunch of radicals. Although Trump has been softening it by replacing some of these judges.
Well, last September, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals issued an alarming decision that strips cities of a critical tool in meeting the responsibility of protecting public health and safety. In Martin versus City of Boise, the Ninth Circuit became the only appellate court in America to rule that a city's ordinance against living on city streets violated the U.S. Constitution's prohibition on cruel and unusual punishment for those who have no other options. 6 judges of the Ninth Circuit who opposed the decision have warned that the ruling would have dire practical consequences for hundreds of cities and their residents. Unfortunately, they are being proven right. The court's position is unworkable and wrong on what the Constitution requires. That's why, as lawyers for Boise, I guess they're the op-eds, we're asking the U.S. Supreme Court to weigh in. So there we go. We're going to the Supreme Court. That is an interesting caveat to this.
And what might that be?
Well, the Ninth Circuit ruling says that it is not meant to cover individuals who do have access to adequate temporary shelter, either because they have the means to pay for it or because it is available to them for free, but who choose not to. Now, the way my mind was like, okay, so if you're camping and the authorities or someone comes over and says, hey, you can't camp here, but here's room in this shelter, and you say, oh, I don't want to go, then take a hike, if I read that correctly. And there's tons of shelter that people don't want to be in them, so that could be a roundabout way of not succeeding in solving the problem other than clearing everybody out of, in this case, downtown Austin. It won't change a damn thing about people not having a place to live or wanting to live there. So maybe it's not quite as dire as the Los Angeles Times says, or as this op-ed says. And the way you do it is you chip them.
Well, there is a long way to get to that point.
but I'm serious about this. If this goes to the Supreme Court,
I've stopped. I'm not going to condemn this idea. I condemn the idea in general. But the idea of chipping the homeless is pretty radical.
That's right. Now in dark mode.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda in the morning.
Well, we do have a few people to thank.
Literally a few.
Yeah, very few. It was a dog, but we have our 91.19 palindrome donation coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And Mech comes in with 9119. Sir Robert of Sous Vide in Holland, Pennsylvania comes in with it. So does Carolyn Blaney. And Sir Kevin McLaughlin, the Earl of Luna. That's a total of 4 people.
There's the big payoff, everybody. Well,
so that was a flop.
Yeah, palindrome.
Well, let's think
palindrome month was a dud.
It wasn't much else I could do. No. I think that newsletter didn't go out to everybody. I think people I don't know why.
Yeah,
Sir Rick in Arlington, Washington came in with 6996. He does that every month. Also, Baron Mark Tanner 6789, who does that twice a month. Adam Nouse in London, Ontario, came in at 5555. Dean Roker 5510.
Hold on, stop. I know you're going fast, but Adam Nouse says, please credit this to my niece's knighthood, Julia. Remember Julia, the 15-year-old?
Yeah, Julia Nouse. Yeah, she's been in the news on our show for the last two shows.
She says, please de-douche me.
You've been de-douched.
And call out Brian Dennis as a douchebag. Douchebag. From Adam Nouse in London, Ontario, Canada. I love this. I can't wait to see Julia at the round table. She'll get there pretty quickly this way.
The Nouse family strikes again. Dean Roker, 5510. Sir Rogue, Viscount of the Palouse, 5421.
Did you see what he did? He said he stumbled over an old gift card in the back of a drawer with a leftover balance and thought, what better way to celebrate the last palindrome before 2021? Of course, it's not a palindrome number, but he gave us the whole gift card. That was
what was left on the gift card.
Yeah, I like it. Thank you, Sir Rogue.
Yeah, that's a good idea, by the way. People probably all have gift cards that they could easily put onto the show. Robert V. Stotts in San Diego, $50.90. Sabrina Barron has got a birthday in Kona, Hawaii, 50-50. What'd she say here? She wishes it's for her husband. He's a hardworking, talented, all-American family man, but he's a huge fan of the show and rarely misses an episode. I know he'll be listening through headphones while he hammers away in the hot sun today.
Nice.
Mahalo. Andrew Benz, $50.05 in Imperial, Missouri. Now we already write to the $50 donors, name and location if available. Joel DeRuin in Savannah, Georgia, 50. Scott Lavender in Montgomery, Texas. David Timmons in Oklahoma City. Brad Taylor in Duval, Washington. George Wuchet in Universal City, Texas. Andrew Gusick in Greensboro, North Carolina. John Camp in Antlers, Oklahoma. Adam Morey in Middletown, Maryland. Sir Jerry Wingenroth in Saugus. And Sir Spud the Mighty in Marietta, Georgia. That's it. It's our group.
Yeah,
small.
It's very, very
it's
small.
Like a total of all of the donations over $50. A total of 27 people. Very low.
Meanwhile, NPR says that they did $50 million in revenue from podcasts in which ends the end of fiscal year 19, which runs to the end of September.
They did $50 million and we got 27 people?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. But they're using underwriters, and then they're scamming the public too. And
of course.
They get advertising.
You mean underwriting? Yes.
Well, no, they also have, or whatever you want to call it.
We should play that one. NPR. I thought I labeled that one new.
Yeah, every time this is like me putting something where I won't lose it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's ridiculous. I've renamed this thing a million times.
Every time you rename it, you can't find it because you renamed it to someplace you won't lose it.
Jeez. NPR.
It's the human condition.
It's horrible. I can't find it. Anyway, screw them. Screw NPR. But congratulations, NPR. And yeah, it was just a very short segment. That's too bad. Well, we hope that people will step up and support us. We certainly have a lot of people supporting us with good ideas and other producerly duties, but this one definitely has to be worked on. So, of course, thank you to everyone who supported this program, episode 1174. Everyone under $50, even that guy with 4 cents, even though it basically costs us money, we still appreciate the thought. And, of course, our executive and associate executive producers could not do it without any of you. And you can continue to support us. All you have to do is go to
Dvorak.org/NA. Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs. You've got karma.
It's your birthday. Oh no.
Yeah, let's see. What is today? Today is the 19th? Yes, the 19th of September, 2019. Not a lot of birthdays. We got Lindsay Carson, who says happy birthday to her brother Dustin. He turned 35 yesterday. And Sabrina Barron says happy birthday to her smoking hot husband, Chris Connington. He turns 40 today. Happy birthday from everybody here at the best podcast in the universe.
Title changes, turn and face the slaves. Title changes, don't want to be a douchebag.
Yes, title change for Sir Dave Fugazzotto. As you heard, he has reached yet another status, and today we bestow him with the honor of Earl, the Earl of America's Heartland and Saudi Arabia. And thank you very much for your courage, Sir Dave Fugazzotto. We also have one knighting to take care of today. It's a Dutchman. Niels van Kuik, who has clearly been donating for a while, and we've heard his name on the show. And if you have a blade, then we can bring him up on the... Oh, nice one. Yes. Okay, Niels. Up on the podium here. Good to see you, Niels, and congratulations, and thank you so much for your support of the No Agenda Show in the amount of $1,000 or more. And today, I am very proud to pronounce the Sir Jack Daniels of Enstone, Knight of the No Agenda Roundtable. I know you want your hookers and blow, your Rent Boys and Chardonnay there if you prefer. We've got warm beer and cold women, waifus and waffles, cold brew coffee and cannabis, kebab and Persian wine, pinball and power curds, goat chops and goat milk, Polish potato vodka, harlots and haldol, geishas and sake, bong hits and bourbon, sparkling cider and escorts, ginger ale and gerbils, breast milk and pablum, Rubenesque women and rosé, and the mutton and mead. So you go to noagendanation.com/rings and get your information into Eric the Shill, and they'll get the ring out to you as soon as possible. And take a picture with it and post it on the Sosh Nets. People seem to like that very, very much. And then as we round out our segment today, we have one final bit of business to take care of.
No Agenda Meetup.
That's right, the meetups continue. Here is your overview for the next few weeks. We have the 19th, that is today, in Toronto, the 20th, southeastern Louisiana. I think that's a new one. Nelson, BC, southeast London, and Wilsonville, Oregon. Busy on the 21st as well, eastern North Carolina, Minneapolis, and Boulder Creek. That's Boulder Creek, California. September 22nd, Arlington, Virginia. The 26th, Las Vegas and Luxembourg. San Antonio on the 27th, and Texas on the 28th, Victoria, BC, Copenhagen, and Havre de Grace, Maryland. October 4th, we go to the lowlands for Utrecht, their meetup there. The 5th, Charleston, South Carolina, and Worcester, Massachusetts. Atlanta takes care of the meetups on the 19th, and the 20th, Louisville, Kentucky, with Nashville, Tennessee on October 24th. To find out more about a meetup near you where you can meet like-minded people, talk about anything you want, have something in common, and not have to worry about people's amygdala exploding because there's no triggering, you need to be at one of these. It's a great compliment to just listening to the show, being part of the human network that is the No Agenda Show. Go to noagendameetups.com. If you don't find anything near you, start one. It's that simple. noagendameetups.com.
So there's a story that didn't get it got some play, didn't get as much as it should have, that I want to play just because it just one of those stories that just personally bugs me. And this is about the payroll tax online system that folded out of the blue, leaving everybody high and dry, which is very common with these online initiatives that they sound like a good idea at the time, and then you give them too much, you give them your money, and then next thing you know, or you trust your data with them. These things they come and go like crazy. And this is the payroll tax online scammer story.
The survey finds that 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. So you can imagine the shock that tens of thousands felt when My Payroll HR suddenly closed this month and they didn't get paid. Meg Oliver now on the fallout.
The hometown diner in Ringe, New Hampshire is closed on Tuesdays. It's the day owner Bonnie Rosengrant pays her 23 employees. Today, for the first time in 10 days, she was able to do that.
It was very hard because I know a lot of my employees, are paycheck to paycheck.
On September 5th, Rosengrant was shocked to learn none of her employees had been paid because the payroll company she used, My Payroll HR, had folded. Her employees and tens of thousands of others across the country were left without a deposit in their account.
It's very emotional. We're a small business, so every penny counts.
My Payroll HR was an online service that handled payroll for small companies. When it shuttered, it was holding nearly $35 million in wages. These images from the Daily Mail show an FBI raid Monday on the upstate New York home of the company's CEO. The mysterious collapse of My Payroll HR impacted some 4,000 businesses across the country, from exercise companies in Chicago to animal rescue shelters in Nashville to fire departments in Florida. Rosengrant is desperate to find out what happened to the more than $30,000 that is missing.
We want our money back.
In addition to not paying her employees, Rosengrant told me the company hadn't paid her quarterly taxes for the last 2 months either, nearly $16,000. Nora?
So the money's gone.
Beside the fact that you don't pay your quarterly taxes but once a quarter, it's unlikely the last 2 months, she says, it hasn't been paid. It doesn't make sense. Right. But other than that, this is the kind of thing you ran into during the dot-com era.
Mm-hmm.
In the late 90s, there's all these companies that were, they were well-funded. They had all the big venture capital money behind them, and they were losing money, but they were soaking. They had cash flow, and they were getting money and data from people, and then they just would turn out half of these places are fly-by-night operations. I don't trust these online systems. I don't even like using MailChimp that much.
Uh-oh. I saw a different one. It was really good. Oh, fuck, I wrote it down somewhere. I'll send it to you. Another email service. Well, I learned my lesson.
And then again, like LinkedIn is a good example. LinkedIn, I was a premium user. I took my premium subscription and threw it out because I'm not going to pay them anything. Because up until about 6 months ago, when you downloaded your data, your contacts, you would have their email address.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. Yes, I remember this. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm bitching about this. And now if you download your contacts, they don't give you the email address anymore. If you want that, you can go through some sales system. They'll sell it to you. They'll sell you the data that you should own.
Yes.
This is Microsoft's idea of a way to go.
A good deal. Yeah.
I think, as far as I'm concerned, this is the biggest scam ever. I don't collect these names, so I don't get their phone number. I don't get so I can't use. I mean, it's basically I have to do everything off of LinkedIn, which I don't want to do. I mean, even MailChimp says make sure you take your data off of our system every so often because you never know, which I think is honest, and they should do the same thing. I can't move my LinkedIn contact list to any other system because Microsoft just won't give me the data. I get a list of names, so what? I mean, why am I paying? And I was paying the premium. I'm not paying the premium if I can't even get the data I want. If I want to download it and have my own for my own address book.
Yeah,
this is the common theme with all this online crap.
Thought you would get a little more worked up about it.
I've been worked up about it for a while.
John C. Dvorak's pet peeve of the day.
Yes, it's the Bay. Wars on the Bay. E-cigarette.
Pew, pew, pew.
Yeah, that's what producers do. It's Vape Wars. I have only 2 bits for the Vape Wars today. I think we've given everybody just about all they need to know, except, of course, it's always fun to watch Dick Durbin talk some shit in Congress.
How many 50-year-old chain smokers can't wait to get unicorn milk flavoring for their vaping device? It's all about kids. And the vaping industry, despite all their public denials, have targeted these kids and effectively recruited our children to be the next generation of vapors for life. How much nicotine's in that little vaping device? The one that looks like it's a flash drive for your computer? The equivalent amount of nicotine in vaping as in a total pack of cigarettes, 20 cigarettes. you get with one hit on a vaping device.
Bullshit.
Nicotine is a very addictive chemical. I know from my family experience, and we all know from those who try for long, long times to quit using tobacco cigarettes. The nicotine draws them back time and time again.
Oh, fantastic. So one draw of the Juul gives you the equivalent amount of nicotine as 20 cigarettes in one draw. It's amazing.
Seems unlikely.
It's not true. Of course not. It's total bullcrap. But
Dick Durbin should be listed as a liar.
Yeah. I did receive a notice from a insider of Big Tobacco Advertising, who obviously shall go unnamed. Are you interested in hearing what the theory is there? And I think
I'm sure the theory is much better than anything we've come up with.
Well, it's better than Dick Durbin.
Well, Dick Durbin.
So I read. All of the biggest vape brands are subsidiaries of big tobacco companies at this point, including Blue, BLU. That's you've seen.
That's the one.
That's the one you've
the
seen.
alternative one I kept trying to get the name of.
Yes.
And they advertise on TV all the time, and I still can't remember their name.
They're owned by Imperial Tobacco, no small player. Juul, which as we know is JTI, Altria, Glow and Vype, VYPE, are owned by BAT, British American Tobacco. These were either acquired or developed in-house as a response to the threat presented to their traditional business by independent vape products. Any regulatory measures aimed at certification or testing of vape products, anything that stops or slows down the vape revolution will be a net benefit to them. The tobacco is always to be a key component in any possible innovation introduced by the big tobacco. Given the massive production and logistics of tobacco across the world that they historically support, vape, of course, bypasses the need for tobacco entirely, and people hooked up on puffing any smoke other than from tobacco is a problem. Each new vapor is one less current or potential smoker. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the whole marijuana prohibition was lobbied by tobacco companies for the same reason. Since vape became a thing, a great time and money was invested in trying to come up with a way to use actual tobacco extracts in vape, or better yet, find a way of bypassing liquids altogether to use dry tobacco in non-combustibles. It's called HNB. It's an acronym for heat, not burn. A stopgap measure for creating vape-like effect along with good old tobacco were traditional menthol and new capsule products, where one is supposed to crush a small flavored capsule located within the filter, thus making it like a vape, plus all of the nicotine and tar-delivering goodness of a traditional cigarette.
Yeah.
Those were especially popular in South America, where they featured stuff like 2 or even 3 capsules inside a single filter. So it's all about innovation. And how they're really...
innovation.
It is, it's innovation. Finally, the thing that may have contributed to attacks on vape at the moment is the ban on menthol and capsule cigarettes coming up next year in the European Empire and some other countries. And there's an FDA proposal to ban it in the U.S. too. And this makes sense because we heard about menthol. So that's even being misappropriated. The menthol in vapes is being abused by people who want to get rid of menthol for cancer sticks. The stuff that replaces the flavored tobacco will inevitably be vape. It is therefore important to slow the competition down while the customers make the switch. I would expect the small manufacturers and Chinese suppliers will be subject to some bad press over the next few months. Whichever of the big tobacco's own brands is not mentioned in the MSM is probably helping the campaign. Love and Light, a source in big tobacco advertising. Well, it makes total sense.
It makes nothing but sense. And my wife said something the other day. She was like, she's against this whole discussion. She says, what's the big deal? She says, everyone did what? A couple of people died from vaping. She says 400,000 people a year can be attributed to smoking. They're not talking about smoking deaths. They don't even mention it in comparison. So, there's 3 people died from vaping here in the United States because they were vaping vitamin E or whatever it was that was hurting them.
Yeah,
but they don't even compare it to, they don't even mention, let alone compare it to the almost 500,000 people who die from smoking worldwide plus. And it's just like left out of the conversation. And you got Dick Durbin on going on. Who cares?
Right.
It's small potatoes, is what she says.
Well, and she's right. And if you look at what the memes they're sending around, it's like, it's literally, like tobacco, 400,000 deaths, 30,000 deaths from, or 50,000 deaths from car accidents, 30,000 from opioids, 8 deaths from Tide Pods, 6 deaths from vaping. So the kids are seeing it. They're not totally stupid. But, meanwhile, the Dick Durbins of the world are, I guess he's lobbying for big tobacco. Where's he from? Illinois? Maybe.
He's from the Midwest somewhere.
He's from Illinois.
But generally speaking, the way you do the lobbying efforts, if you're in Congress, I was lectured about that guy from Utah who was the older senator from Utah, whose name eludes me for some reason. Someone in the chat room will mention his name, gray hair. He was like the number one lobbyist insofar as the liquor industry is concerned to keep interstate shipping from happening. And I was told by a big importer this information may be dubious.
Hatch?
But he said, what?
Hatch?
Yeah, Orrin Hatch.
Orrin Hatch is
the big, he's just, no, you can't do this, you can't do that. You have to, blue laws. And he uses the excuse that there's from Utah and they don't drink because they're all Mormons in Utah.
Right.
And so, but he's actually representing Southern Wines and Spirits at the time. Now they're lesser of a player than they used to be, which was a group out of Florida, which may or may not have connections back to the bootlegging era.
Ah, of course, yes.
And Southern Wines and Spirits was one of the biggest against. Oh, you should not be able to ship from, for example, K&L Liquors in San Francisco, which has a real big business sending stuff to states where it's allowable, which turns out to only be about 15 states. Texas, for example, even though they produce wine, I don't believe I can ship a bottle of wine to Texas.
Correct, you can't.
Why?
I'm still trying to get the homeless people off the streets. I'll deal with liquor later.
Just saying. Mm-hmm. And so the way you go, and Dick Durbin is a good example, is you take somebody that doesn't seem to have any relationship to an operation in Florida.
Yeah.
And, and he does the bidding for them. And that's the way it works, according to an insider.
The Mueller report.
Yes, this is a corrupt world.
Something interesting, ever since you introduced us to the swine fever,
swine fever,
the pig Ebola that is
pig Ebola
appears to be at least killing half of everything in China, everything pig. I just saw an interesting article today. It said Hong Kong's Green Monday sees breakthrough for plant-based pork in swine fever hit China. I'm thinking, that's interesting. Just from the time when we've got all this Beyond Meat, I can't believe it's not meat, whatever all these brands are.
Yeah.
Do you think they could really try that? Do you think the Chinese would go for that? Do you think they'll go for plant-based pork?
No.
Are they going to fall for this?
Well, the problem is the idealism doesn't work because, in fact, I learned this a long time ago in my culinary exploits. Is the Chinese, when you go, for example, get this hanging pork, which is generically called barbecue pork, you got a big piece, you chop it up, you put it in your fried rice, you use it for all sorts of things. The Americans always, I want lean. They want lean. It's like the bacon. I want lean bacon. The Chinese want fatty. Because the source of energy really comes from the fat. Right. You're just getting protein from the lean, which you may or may not need too much of, especially if you're a mature adult. But you do need energy, and the energy comes from the fat content. And so they always want more. They want fatty barbecue pork and fatty bacon. And so I don't know how you can get that component in the bullcrap product. It's going to all be lean, which is the Chinese don't like.
All right. Well, it was just a thought.
So I just think it's going to be a flop.
I've been observing the advertising, or I should say lack thereof, on Tucker Carlson canceled tonight, because he is still a huge target of cancel culture.
Sure.
And pharma has been a problem. You know,
By the way, I think Fox is taking a beating on that show.
Well, I think he did a native ad.
Oh, brother. That wouldn't surprise me.
Yes. It was so, I mean, it was almost like back to, when did we have the swine flu? When I got swine flu, 2010? 2009? 2010?
Yeah, where there were the lines.
Yeah. So I think they're trying to bring that back because if you look for the headline, within the next 36 hours, a super flu could spread like wildfire across America. And Tucker kicked this off yesterday with that douchebag doctor who he always brings in. The guy who, they all hate weed, and it's always anti good meds, and it's always shilling for the big pharmaceutical industry. Listen to this.
A new report by the World Health Organization says it's just a matter of time, maybe not that much time, before a major flu pandemic.
Okay, now before we do that, let's remind you.
Hold on, wait. They don't have something on the horizon. There's not a bug that they can identify that's come out. This is just a vague report that one of these days.
Well, it is the World Health Organization. Let me remind you of the kind of report we got from them in 2014.
This Ebola epidemic is the largest and most severe and most complex we've ever seen in the nearly 40-year history of this disease. No one, even outbreak responders, would experience, dating back to 1976 to 1995, people that were directly involved with those outbreaks, none of them have ever seen anything like it.
Yeah, we were all going to die. And then and that guy came back when he had Ebola and he was live on every news channel and he just hops out of the ambulance. Remember that?
Yeah, that guy.
I'll just go inside here. So the World
Health. And there was also the nurse who said, screw this, and she wasn't going to be put in. She went bicycling.
So the World Health Organization are a bunch of douchebag shills, and Tucker's all in.
A new report by the World Health Organization says it's just a matter of time, maybe not that much time, before a major flu pandemic. In today's hyper-globalized world, the report says the super flu could spread worldwide in just 36 hours and potentially kill 80 million people. Are we prepared for that?
80 million people are going to die!
Could we prepare for that? Dr. Mark Siegel is a Fox Medical contributor. He joins us tonight. Are you worried about
Did you hear that? They had a little sound effect in there. They're like a little emergency beep bop.
Spread worldwide.
You sure that wasn't, you know what that could have been? It could have been a timer. So that, because they have to talk about this X amount of time.
It is,
including his intro.
Okay, hold on.
To get paid.
You are nailing it, my friend. This report it's 2:15 on the timer. The bebop comes almost at exactly 2 minutes. I think you're right.
In just 36 hours and potentially kill 80 million people. Are we prepared for that? Could we prepare for that? Dr. Mark Siegel is a Fox Medical contributor.
2 minutes on the nose.
Tonight. Are you worried about this, Doctor?
Tucker, I'm worried about this because flu is a very changeable virus. It mutates all the time. And if we see a flu that we haven't seen before and we don't have any immunity to, we could see a lot of deaths from it. And already in a regular flu season, to give you an idea, kills 500,000 people around the world and infects 1 billion people every year. That's the flu that we have immunity to. That's the flu that your flu shot protects you against. But if we saw a new version, a pandemic strain, a serious one, not like the one we saw in 2009, but a really bad one with air travel, it could spread around the globe in a matter of days, and we wouldn't be prepared for it. We could make a pandemic vaccine, but that'd take months. We have a universal flu vaccine in the pipeline, but that's going to take 5 years before it's ready. We need it right now. And another thing, why don't we have the kind of detection software we need to tell me if someone's sick before they get symptoms? People travel on planes, right? They're close together. Right. They're coughing on each other. They could be in Asia one day and here in New York the next day spreading a
serious killer like the flu. Flu spreads very easily. It lives on surfaces. It spreads through the air. It kills you. It can get you quite sick. It can cause pneumonia. It can cause all kinds of other infections. I want to know that a person has it before they're even sick. We have the technology for that. We're not using it. And I want that flu vaccine that we can use against all strains that come out. What's going to get us in big trouble is a mutation, something that mutates from a bird or a bird-like creature to humans. We've seen it before. We saw it in 1918. If it happens now, you're going to also see a lot of panic. And one more thing, Tucker. Bioterror, we've talked about that on the show here. You could take a flu molecule in the laboratory and change it so it's just a slight change genetically so that we've never seen it before.
Horrifying. Some of your reports are reassuring. Tonight's is not among them. Dr. Siegel, great to see you.
We're all going to die!
I find that to be the most despicable.
But was it? You think it's part of a program of
fuck yeah
advertising?
Yes.
You think so? There's going to be more and more until they finally have the punchline of who the advertiser is, because there's no evidence that there was an advertiser there.
Oh no, this is part. The World Health Organization came out with a 36-hour warning, super flu. They repeat this verbatim, add some biological terror to fill up the 2-minute window they promised, and think about it. They finally got the measles. 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 Everyone's ready. They're ready to get flu shots. I think the advertising starts next week. They're going to push it.
Okay, well, now you have to follow it.
Of course I'm going to follow it. I love this. I live for this.
Love it.
And it reminds me.
Well, that guy's an idiot, that doctor.
Well, wait for this. If the super flu really shows up, this is the report I would have done, but of course I wasn't getting paid to do it. Look at what's going to happen to the people who are homeless on the street. That's going to be some nasty shit.
That's a good angle.
That's going to be some nasty shit. In fact,
that's an angle. That's an angle for a good story. If you're a local news producer, I would say you just heard a very valuable, and donate. You heard a very valuable executive level idea that the troops should be paying attention to.
Yes.
Dynamite.
Yeah, exactly. And it reminds me a little bit of, I think it was, it must have been Star Trek Deep Space Nine. I think episode 11.
What is this place?
The Sanctuary District.
21st century history is not one of my strong points. Too depressing.
It's been a hobby of mine. They made some ugly mistakes, but they also paved the way for a lot of things we now take for granted.
I assume this is one of those mistakes.
A bad one. By the early 2020s, there was a place like this in every major city in the United States.
Why are these people in here? Are they criminals?
No, people with criminal records weren't allowed in the sanctuary districts.
Then what do they do to deserve this?
Nothing. Just people. Without jobs or places to live.
So they get put in here?
Welcome to the 21st century, Doctor.
I think that was filmed in 99 or something.
Or before that, maybe.
Yes, visionary. That's right. And get your flu infested campers. And
one way to roust them if everybody gets sick and there's some epidemic going around.
Yeah. Hey, you got an ISO for end of show? I think we should end this. I think
I have
pretty long. Unless you want to do something.
I got one you can try.
Okay.
Take a look at this. This is part of one of the Biden series. This is Kids Hear Words from Biden.
Make sure the kids hear words. Make sure the kids hear words.
It's okay.
Well, that's all I got.
That's all you got? Well, I can't count on you, apparently.
Okay, I will make an effort in the future.
What am I going to do for this show?
I don't know. I do have one clip I'd like to get out of here.
Okay, let's do that then.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. It's not your fault. It's just
It's Snowden. Here's Snowden versus Trump is back in the news, and it's not being reported in the mainstream.
The Trump administration filed suit Tuesday against NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden over his newly released memoir titled Permanent Record, seeking to block his publisher from forwarding any revenue from book sales. Snowden tweeted in response, quote, "This is the book the government does not want you to read," unquote. This comes after Snowden, who's been in exile in Russia since 2013, told CBS News Monday he would return to the U.S. if he was guaranteed a fair trial and a chance to share with the American public why he leaked NSA documents.
I'm not asking for a pardon. I'm not asking for a pass. What I'm asking for is a fair trial. And this is the bottom line that any American should require, right? We don't want people thrown in prison without the jury being able to decide whether what they did was right or wrong.
Yeah, apparently the new was it the director of DNI? Who's the new guy?
Yeah, the new guy.
Yeah, he has written a letter saying time to renew the what is it? What's the name of that act? It's the
Patriot Act.
No, it's the follow-up to the Patriot Act, which has the same so-called protections of FISA.
Yeah, the national. Yeah, I know what it is. National Defense Authorization Act.
No. It's
like the good stuff in it.
No, it's like this is because I was reading. I can't believe it. I don't have this article somewhere. It's like the it's not Patriot. It's the America Act. Oh, here it is. I got it. I'm sorry. USA Freedom Act. Ugh.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
That's the one. So Joseph Maguire. He says the USA Freedom Act. Maguire. The USA Freedom Act of 2015 preserves significant national security authorities, enhances privacy and civil liberties, protections, increases transparency. Bullshit.
Yeah, and arrests Snowden.
Yeah. Arrest Snowden. And the administration supports a clean and permanent reauthorization of all the USA Freedom Act provisions of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act that will expire in December 2019, including the lone wolf and roving wiretap authorities and the acquisition of business records, including call detail records under Title V of FISA. The USA.
Now, what's the name of this act again?
The USA Freedom Act.
How is that freedom?
Forget about it. Reflector 33 Charlie. And that's your freedom right there, everybody. Hams will save the world.
Right.
We've got the full interview that I did with Steve Pieczenik coming up after the show. If you like that, support us at Dvorak.org/NA. It's a bonus. It's a freebie bonus. Day off, kind of. End of show. I'm going to have to make some choices. I've got Sir Seat Sitter. I've got Hugh Allison. I've got Rolfie, Tom Starkweather, Jesse Coy Nelson. I mean, it's a lot. So I'm not going to play them all, but we'll make a nice selection. And on Sunday, we will return with more of this goodness. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please determine what value it was to you and go to Dvorak.org/NA and support us with that. Coming to you from Opportunity Zone 33 in the frontier of Austin, Texas, FEMA Region Number 6, all the governmental maps in the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, I'm John C. Dvorak.
We return on Sunday with another edition of the best podcast in the universe. Until then, adios, mofos, and such! In dark mode.
Yes, it's the Bay Wars on the Bay, being e-cigarette.
Pew, pew, pew!
Smoke, smoke, smoke that cigarette. Puff, 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 and if you smoke yourself to death.
In Italy, 1 million smokers have taken up e-cigarettes. Market researchers Euromonitor International estimate the industry will be worth $7 billion by the end of the year. In January, e-cigarette makers in Italy will have to pay 80.5% of their revenue in taxes.
So e-cigarettes are now subject to a 92% tax in the state of Vermont. The bill is aimed at curbing youth vaping. The new tax is not actually going to affect cigarettes. It's only going to be affecting e-cigs. And I also suppose other substitute products.
Cigarette is all you get, so hold your fire, don't light it yet.
Tell St. Peter at the Golden Gate that you hates to make him wait, but you just gotta have another cigarette.
They took a large group of people who wanted to stop smoking. Half of them they gave e-cigarettes to, and the other half they could choose whatever they wanted for nicotine substitution, a patch, chewing gum. It turned out many more people were successful using e-cigarettes, let's call it vaping, than any other method of smoking cessation.
Government is so dependent on that tax dollar that comes from tobacco. It's an enormous amount of money.
It's $11.5 billion. It's more than they get out of petrol.
They will be very reluctant to see that go down. If people switched off tobacco and went on to vaping, then that tax take may reduce, and maybe that's the real reason.
Multiple drones bombed Saudi Arabia's largest oil facilities today.
In neighboring Yemen, Houthi rebels claimed responsibility for the attack.
بفضل من الله تعالى.
Because Trump was getting tired of the 400 pass and a super gay mustache. We thought they were all gone, but now here come the neocons. They want to war with Iran, so they came up with a plan. A bomb in the Saudis, setting fire to refineries. Presidential tweet storm caused by a drone storm. Sneak attack and drone strike. Now the oil hit the price spike. The oil is on fire, so the cost of it goes higher. In the morning,
got them OTG blues. Gonna bring you some news. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the vocal stylist and Mr. John C. Dvorak. OTG. Got them OTG blues. Going OTG. Gonna bring you some news. I'm an OTG guy. OTG. I'm an OTG guy.
I don't know why I did that. Oh man, I was stunned. Yeah, you watch Gonna Be Like the Beatles.
The best podcast in the universe.
Mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA. I can't wait to get to the polls to vote for Joe Biden.